What's up, people? Yes, I know. Finally, I'm doing another Crusading for a Turnabout. And yeah, okay. I lost my train of thought. I am really, like, out of it right now just because my mind has been fully enveloped by my tank platoon training because, Russia, Ukraine, they're doing their thing. Like two political moves away from me being fucking on the front lines. Maybe not front lines. It just depends what my unit does. But yeah, there's that going on, and I also have all my officer training going on with a bunch of assignments. But you know what the good news is? I have a 4-day free weekend, and I'm hoping that this is gonna kick it off with like an extravaganza of videos. I'm planning on doing 3 movies, 3 more of the episodes of my shows, and hopefully 2 more MLPG 5 episodes. I'm going to try and do all that, and if I can't, I'm sorry, so I'm not promising. That is just the goal. Might not meet it, but yeah. Another disclaimer for this. I know it has been many months since I have last reacted to this. I am just going to warn you right off the bat that I do not have the time to go back and rewatch, and I am not going to be completely in the loop of everything that's going on because it's been a few months. I'm not going to remember all the small details. If that bothers you, I'm sorry. I guess you just don't have to watch, but I can't sit back and just rewatch everything to get back in the loop. But I'm sure as I keep watching, it'll start coming back to me. Like, I'm not completely stupid. Like, I'll remember some stuff, but I'm probably not going to be as sharp as I was in Turnabout Storm. Yeah, because I was calling shit back then, but I'm doing like 5 months in between this. Like, I'm not going to remember all the little details. So, with all that out of the way, I'm just ready to go right in. So, 2.5 hours, let's go. 3, 2, 1, play. Alright, let's pick back up. I think we're in the middle of a trial. Maybe. Or about to be in a trial. Fuck, I'm sorry if I don't remember the details, guys. I have so much shit to watch and keep up with. That was way too bright.
Okay. First trial in Equestria. No
Oh, yeah.
big deal.
Athena's up
Be
here.
like any other.
Except with magic, and 2 kids as defendants, and no help from Phoenix or Apollo.
Widget. Can you say something positive for a change?
Yeah, what the fuck,
I
Widget?
am positive that this trial will be anything but a cakewalk.
There we go.
Why do I keep you on all the time?
Athena! There you are! Where have you been all morning? We were looking everywhere for you.
Sorry, Twilight. I got up early to run a few laps around the castle. As soon as I was done, I rushed over here.
Who willingly
But
does that?
You were already up late last night. How many hours did you actually sleep?
About 3, I'd say.
That's a pretty good
Did you at
amount
least
for
get
army
something to
standards.
I had something to drink after my laps. Nothing like some freshly squeezed orange juice after a good workout.
Just don't let Applejack hear that.
Oh
What
shit.
was that?
We don't say
Trust me,
orange juice
Twilight,
around here.
This is nothing out of the ordinary for Athena.
Is that a new model for him?
Not exactly a
For
great
them?
idea to tire yourself out before the trial even starts, though, is it?
Hey! At least I'm getting some exercise, Mr. Overnight Instant Noodles and Comments.
Hey!
It's called manga, and it's art.
You two could learn a lot from me. I always make sure I'm well rested before a performance, just to be safe.
We get it. We all have
There's a
different
lot more on the
sleeping
line with
schedules.
This, though, Trucy.
You're still worried about defending both Scootaloo and Turning Page, aren't you?
Yeah, just a little bit. But I'm fine. I'm just a little on edge, you know?
Well, don't worry, Athena. I'm going to be right there with you throughout the trial.
You're
Hell
right.
yeah.
Thanks again, Twilight, for agreeing to be my aide.
No problem, Athena.
I'm certainly gonna need the help, that's for sure.
Speaking of those kids, where are they? They should have been brought here by now.
Apparently, the prosecutor wanted to have one last conversation with them before the trial started. They should be here any minute.
Is that allowed?
Hopefully soon. The trial's about to start.
By the way, Twilight, did you manage to get any info about the prosecutor?
No.
Wait.
Oh yeah, do we still not
Didn't
know who the
even tell
prosecutor is?
you?
No, they didn't. I'm sorry, Athena,
Huh? For what?
for not being able to find out who the prosecutor is. I gave you my word that I would, after all.
Twilight, it's okay, really. I mean, it's not like it would make that much of a difference, right?
That is the
The
difference.
second we walk through those doors, we're gonna find out exactly who the prosecutor is anyway.
God, who's it gonna be?
You did the best you could, Twilight. That's all anyone could ask for.
Good morning, every pony. Especially to you, Princess Twilight.
Turning,
Thanks,
there's
Turning.
no need to bow to me, really.
What do you mean? Of course there is. You're taking time out of your busy schedule to help defend Miss Scootaloo and me. I'm eternally grateful, Princess.
If my ass is ever in Equestria, I am.
Wait, how did you know I was assisting the defense?
Oh, well, it was the prosecutor. They told us to be aware of your presence today.
Why are you kids acting all
Why does it
sus now?
always feel like we're being left in the dark? We don't know anything about the prosecution, but somehow they already know about us?
Yeah, what the
and
fuck
they
is
told
happening?
Turning and Scootaloo?
Miss Sykes, Princess Twilight,
Yes, Turning?
I have a request. I want you both to focus on Miss Scootaloo. I don't care what
Focus?
happens to me, but you must defend Scootaloo no matter what. She's innocent. I know it. If worse comes to worse, let me take the blame and just save her.
What? Turning, no! Do you realize what'll happen if we do that? If you're found guilty, you'll be banished from Equestria.
He doesn't care.
I know that. But that's a price I'm willing to pay. If it means Miss Scootaloo is saved.
He's absolutely serious about
Yeah.
this.
Defend me if you must. But just know that if I think things start to look bad, I won't hesitate to confess if it means saving her.
No! You're innocent too! You can't throw your life away just for me, Turning!
Goddamn.
I won't let you! Besides, think of your mom. She just lost your dad after all. If you end up banished...
Yeah.
She'll be fine. Besides,
You sure?
she'd understand. Sometimes sacrifices need to be made. It's my duty, as a future member of the Royal Guard. If even one life is spared, no matter whose, I'd have no regrets.
Not if it's
Don't
needless.
worry, Scootaloo. If what the
His heart's in the
prosecutor
right
said
place.
is true, then we shouldn't have to worry at all. I'm just stating this as a last resort, in case things don't go according to plan.
Right.
This mystery prosecutor is making secret
Let me
plans
know
with the
who it
defendants
is.
as well. You know what? I'm not gonna just stand there twiddling my thumbs.
Oh, I thought that was
It's
Twilight
time
for a
some
second. I was
answers.
like, you don't have thumbs,
All
bitch.
right, just who exactly is the prosecutor? And what exactly did they say to you two?
I'm sorry, Miss Sykes, but we were told not to tell you anything about the prosecutor's identity or plan.
Seriously?
What's the deal? Why are they being so secretive?
What, are they blackmailing you or something? Just
I
say
don't
it.
know, but it's starting to get on my nerves.
I know, it's not against the law, is it?
Scoots! Turning! You guys doing alright?
You guys alright?
Yeah, I'm fine, Apple Bloom.
I am.
It's been a hot
Thank you
minute
for
since I heard
asking.
Apple Bloom's voice.
Hey, Squirt! You doing okay? Yeah, I just can't believe I'm going on trial. Yeah, it feels pretty crazy, huh? It's okay though. You made it through the worst part. All you gotta do now is sit tight and wait for Athena to prove that you didn't do it.
I'm glad you've all come out to support Scootaloo and Turning.
Well, most of us, darling. A certain some pony didn't want to get out of bed today.
Applejack?
I practically had to drag her to the courthouse.
Oh.
Oh, well, that makes sense, I guess. She was feeling sick yesterday, wasn't she?
She doesn't seem like she's ill at all.
Yeah, wasn't there something sus going on with Sweetie Belle too?
Quiet.
Miss Sykes, what's going on?
Well, you see...
Sweetie Belle didn't want to help us investigate the case.
Widget!
What?
No, that's... Oh, Widget!
Sweetie Belle? What's this about?
Oh, no! It's not like that at all! It's not like I don't want to help. I'm just so sure that Scootaloo is innocent, and
That is a
I know
good
that
Sweetie
Princess
Belle
Twilight
voice.
and Miss Sykes will be able to prove it without my
All
help.
these voices are good.
Sweetie.
That's how it works, right? In court, the truth will come out no matter what.
Yeah.
You didn't even want to try and help, though?
Sweetie Belle! What are you talking about? We're the Cutie Mark Crusaders. We do everything together.
Damn right.
That includes helping each other out no matter what. We've had each other's backs ever since we started looking for our cutie marks. That's the whole reason why we're friends in the first place. So why aren't you helping now?
God damn.
Apple Bloom? Sweetie Belle? I know this is a rough time for y'all, but this ain't the time or place to be having this discussion.
I want to help Scootaloo. Really, I do. But considering what she did, I didn't want to get in the way and make things worse. Like you did.
Oh shit.
What's that supposed to mean?
Sweetie Belle, apologize to Apple Bloom.
Oh my god.
What are you talking about,
I'm just gonna
Sweetie
back
Belle?
up into a
What
corner.
did I do?
You know what you did? You stole some fabric from Carousel Boutique the other night. You went into the forest and gave it to Diamond's Yard Silver Spoon, didn't you? In exchange for your scooter?
Girls, that's enough. This ain't...
Wait a minute. Sweetie Belle, how did you know that Scootaloo stole the fabric in the first place?
Can you kids be fully transparent, please?
Yeah, how did you know about that? What are you
Bye.
hiding from us, Sweetie Belle? Rainbow, that is quite
I mean, they have to be hiding it for a
Wow,
reason.
She's clearly keeping quiet about something. And if it can help Scootaloo, then she needs to tell us.
Maybe some sort of blackmail.
Calm down, Rainbow. You're not helping any pony by scaring Sweetie Belle.
I just knew, all right? Something didn't seem right when Turning showed up in the middle of the night to say hello, so I figured something was up. I checked around the boutique after he left and noticed one roll of golden silk was missing. That's all!
See, there you go, Rainbow. A perfectly reasonable explanation.
I mean-
don't buy it. Look at her. She's shaking like a leaf. I think she's still hiding something.
I'm with you, Rainbow.
Now tell us what happened. You followed
Okay.
them there, didn't you?
Rainbow, back off.
It's getting heated in here.
Look, I need to go. I'll see you all in there, okay?
What are you...
Sweetie Belle!
What is
I'll go
happening?
after her. But you and I are going to have a serious talk later, Rainbow Dash.
Consarn it, Rainbow.
What the fuck? I've lived in the South my
What a
whole life,
mess.
and I've never heard that
I
term.
shouldn't have said that. I should not have said that.
I just don't get it. Why would Sweetie Belle doubt Scootaloo?
Yeah, there is something
Aren't they
going
all good
on.
friends?
Who is the
They are.
prosecutor?
But I don't know.
Even close friends can still doubt each other. But not typically without a very good reason.
If I could have every pony's attention, the trial is about to begin. Will the defendants
Alright.
and their attorney please make their way into the courtroom?
Here we go. Deep breaths, Athena.
Bobs?
Do not say more than that. No Eminem.
Don't worry.
Thank you.
You've got this. Remember to focus and you'll be able to prove your client's innocence.
Just believe in yourself. Okay?
Okay.
Thanks, you guys.
I know this is a big step for you as a lawyer, but we all start somewhere. It's time for you to take that next leap forward. I'm confident you'll succeed. You'll always have my full support.
Hell yeah.
Boss. We got this. Right, Twilight?
Gotta You got a hoof.
Of course, Athena. Now, let's go.
Damn. All right. Who is it? There's no one there. All right. Oh, I'm in my underwear.
Now in session for the trial of Scootaloo
Can't
and
rise.
Turning Page. Are the prosecution and defense ready?
That's weird. The prosecution is missing. Wait, why is the judge still here?
Prosecution, defense, are you ready?
Yes, Your Honor. But, you're still here then?
You didn't think I'd go straight back home, did you? I figured I'd just take a short vacation in this wonderful world.
Is it really a vacation if you're still working?
I truly
If you love
do
your work,
love it here in Equestria.
every day's a vacation.
After I'm done with today's trial, I plan on doing some sightseeing for a few days before I head back home. I know I said I wasn't interested before, but I'm thinking of checking out that race Prince Blueblood mentioned. I'll admit I don't have much experience with them, but I suppose it could be fun to watch. Princess Twilight, if you know of any other sights I could catch in Equestria, I'd greatly appreciate
Why is she
being
so
told
panicked?
about them.
I'll let you know, Your Honor.
So, why are you here exactly, Your Honor? In court, I mean.
Well, actually, it was Princess Celestia who asked me to preside over this trial.
Good.
Wait, Princess Celestia asked you? Why?
'Cause he's a homie.
I'm sorry, Miss Sparkle, but I'm afraid I don't have that answer. The letter I received simply asked if I would be willing to preside over the trial, and I agreed.
Why is everything so
That's
secretive?
odd. Wasn't that supposed to be one of Princess Celestia's responsibilities? The only reason she wasn't the judge for the previous trial was because Twilight specifically requested it. But that doesn't seem to be the case this time.
I don't know.
What is going on here?
In any case, we should get started with the trial. Prosecution, I have still yet to hear your answer. Are you ready?
Forget hearing their answer. I'd settle
I
for
know.
just seeing them.
If the prosecution is not prepared, then it would appear that I will have to postpone the trial until they arrive. Very well. Court is...
Hold it! My apologies, Your Honor. The prosecution is ready.
About time. Huh? Wait. She has
What?
wings and a horn?
Wait,
Does
what?
that mean...
Oh? And who might you...
What is happening?
I am Princess Luna. A pleasure to meet you, Your Honor.
A princess?
Ah, yes. I do recall receiving a message that the original prosecutor for this case chose to allocate their duties to another.
What?
Regardless,
What the fuck is
that
happening?
no excuse to be late to court, Princess?
Just prosecutor will do, Your Honor. And I understand. My sincerest apologies. A colleague of mine had something they wished to discuss with me, and so it delayed my arrival. Nevertheless, the prosecution is now prepared.
My face is just stuck
Very
like this.
well.
There's so much. We are in the
Princess
dark
Luna,
so
huh?
bad.
So she is an alicorn, just like Twilight. I suppose that makes sense, given that she's a princess and all. That name, though, it sounds familiar. Wait,
It was where Equestria's current rulers, Princess Celestia and Luna, used to live.
oh, that's right. She's one of Equestria's leaders. Just my luck. How am I supposed to keep up with the ruler of an entire country?
Hey, well, she hasn't been here for
Okay,
very long.
relax. Just focus on the case. Still, something about her appearance. Have I seen her somewhere before?
Yeah.
Hey, Twilight,
That's
Twilight?
me.
What's wrong?
Princess Luna? What are you doing here?
I'm here to bat a Scootaloo, Twilight.
Twilight Sparkle. I heard that you would be assisting the defense today.
Heard? I think it's more likely that you found out during your nightly stroll. Am I right?
I should have expected you'd know. You've always been the clever one.
Thanks.
What the heck are they talking about?
Nevertheless, Miss Sparkle, the reason I'm here is quite simple. It is my duty to uphold the laws of Equestria. I am simply fulfilling that duty, regardless of whom it is I may be prosecuting, be they adult or child.
Are you a trained lawyer?
friend
What?
or foe.
Why would a
I
prosecutor
plan to fulfill my
just
responsibilities
choose to
the
shift their
fullest.
responsibilities to
But
you?
of course, being the clever pony that you are, I'm sure you could have guessed that, couldn't you?
Why are you so smug?
Twilight?
As for you, defense,
Huh? Me?
I must confess, I was hoping that the Blue Phoenix would stand against me.
Blue Phoenix?
His
Mr.
efforts
Right.
during the TS5 case and the case from 2 days ago were certainly admirable, twice proving there was no murder in our peaceful country.
Mm-hmm.
So, imagine my surprise when I learned that you would be the lead on this case instead. You, whom I have only heard of in hearsay and whispers that began spreading after the trial in Manhattan. I look forward to seeing if you can hold yourself up to the same standards that the
Okay.
Blue Phoenix has set.
Why are you so mean?
You'll see. I will live up to his example. With Twilight by my side, Scootaloo and Turning Page are as good as free.
Is that so? Well, that's
Ooh, they're a
wonderful
little
to hear.
passive-aggressive.
And with that,
little
let us
standoff
resume
right now.
this trial. Prosecutor Luna, you may make your opening statement.
At once, Your Honor.
Do you know law?
Alright, let's do this! Ready, Twilight?
Yeah, I'm gonna study to be a prosecutor, and then I'm gonna have Joe Biden be my
Twilight?
Oh,
shift all his
sorry.
duties.
Right. Let's get this started.
All right, we gotta get in the
Today's
game now.
proceedings shall center around the murder of Royal Order, who had just returned home from Canterlot the night he was killed. He was a member of the Royal Guard.
What? A guard pony was killed? Not just killed, he was murdered.
What does this mean? He's still safe?
Rest assured, my little ponies, that there is no cause for alarm. We anticipated this would be the public's reaction to this news. That is why we withheld this information until we had all the facts.
That's right. Private Eye mentioned something about keeping the victim's identity a secret from the public. Looks like that was the right call.
Now that we have investigated this
guess.
matter in full, we are ready to present the truth behind this stallion's death to the court and the public. I will
Alright.
begin by submitting the victim's autopsy report.
The court accepts the report as evidence.
Stab wound to the right temple. Post-mortem stab wound. Oh,
The time of death is estimated to be on the evening of February 12th between 9:30 p.m., when the victim was last seen, and 10:30 p.m., when the body was discovered. The coroner was able to confirm this during their examination of the body. Death came as the result of a single stab wound to the right side of
One
the
stab
victim's head.
A single lethal strike.
god
then.
damn.
It's not quite that simple, Your Honor. There was only one visible wound, but he appears to have been stabbed at least twice. Whether or not this was caused by a single weapon or multiple weapons is unclear. What we do know for certain is that the victim died instantly after just a single stab. All subsequent stabs the victim suffered were post-mortem.
In other words, the only thing we need to be concerned with is figuring out how the victim suffered his initial
Not
stab wound.
necessarily, like,
That's what killed
that
him.
post-mortem shit is
Additionally,
definitely something to keep
we
in
discovered
mind.
a large bruise on the left side of the victim's torso, indicating that he was struck by some sort of object. However, unlike the subsequent stab wounds, the victim received this bruise before
This
he
guy's just
died.
getting fucked up. What the hell?
I see.
What I'm still wondering is, why did the killer stab the victim in the head of all places? That's way too bizarre to not
To
be
kill him
important.
instantly.
There's still one more point in this autopsy report that confuses me, though.
I assume you are referring to the affliction the victim was suffering?
That's correct. This
Poison
joke. I've done my research on Equestria, but I'm afraid my studies didn't quite cover this topic.
There's no need to worry, Your Honor. I shall explain. Poison joke is a rare
I
type
know.
of flower, native only to the everfree forest. It is relatively harmless, but should one so much as touch the plant, they will be afflicted with a bizarre condition unique to every
Wonder what would happen to
individual.
me.
Yeah, this is all stuff that Twilight mentioned yesterday.
An
In the
even
case
bigger
of Royal
head.
Order, the affliction he suffered was weak knees. Ironic that a member of the Royal Guard would be afflicted with a condition that makes it difficult to stand tall.
Indeed.
As for the body itself, it was discovered at the foot of the bridge leading to the castle of the two sisters. As you can see on this diagram, the castle ruins lie at the very end of the path that cuts through the everfree forest. We also have an additional diagram here that gives us a closer look at the crime scene itself. The X we've marked on here is representative of where the body was at the time of its discovery.
Okay.
Lastly,
I'm trying to take
the
as much in as I
prosecution
can.
wishes to submit this photo of the crime scene to the court. The victim's body had already been removed for autopsy by the time it was taken, but we laid out tape to mark its exact positioning.
Very well. The court accepts the diagrams and photo as evidence.
Okay. So was he just like stumbling through the forest
Ponies
and
accused
someone
of committing
attacked
this
him?
wretched crime are Turning Page, the son of the victim, and Scootaloo, a friend of Turning's.
It is rather difficult for me to believe that these two children would do something like this, though. Not to mention the fact that one of the two standing accused is the victim's own
Almost
son.
all murders come from
It's
someone in the
certainly a
family.
rather tough pill to swallow, but I am certain that, in time, you will come to see that these two were the only ones capable of committing this crime.
You'd better have some pretty substantial evidence to back up your claims, Prosecutor Luna. These are children's lives at stake.
Trust me, Your Honor.
Luna.
It brings me no pleasure to prosecute these young souls. However, justice must still be served. In the eyes of the law, every pony is equal. Age is a non-issue. I trust that you, too, know this, and will remain impartial in your judgment?
Certainly, Prosecutor Luna. That is the duty of a judge, after all.
He knows his role, Luna.
I'm glad to hear that, Your Honor.
Why is she so
Well then,
sassy?
defense, what is your stance regarding the charges filed against your clients?
Your Honor, we stand by our plea of not guilty. The defendants, Turning Page and Scootaloo, are both completely innocent of the charges filed against them.
The court acknowledges the defense's position.
Thank you for not talking
Now
shit
then,
there. Trixie would have
let's
gone
hear from
ham.
the prosecution's first witness.
Your Honor, the prosecution would like to call the detective in charge of this investigation, Private Eye, to the stand.
Okay.
Very well.
All right. Private Eye's up first, then. Hopefully he doesn't say anything too damaging.
Yeah, I saw Scootaloo stab him in plain sight.
Witness, please state your name and occupation for the record.
My name is Private Eye, Princess. Detective. And might I say, good morning to everyone present. Princess Twilight, Miss Sykes, my lord.
Morning.
Good morning.
Lord, huh? I could get used to
All
that.
right. Let him butter you up.
We've already lost him.
The prosecution's first course of action will be to make the actions of the victim clear to the court. Detective, please testify in regards to this matter.
At once, Your Highness.
All right.
The victim, Royal Order, was stationed in Camelot until late afternoon on the day of his murder. After his shift ended, he boarded a train and arrived in Ponyville at around 9:15 that night. Upon his return home, he was informed of Turning's whereabouts and decided to head into the Everfree Forest to find him. When he arrived at the base of the bridge, in front of the castle of the two sisters, he was ambushed and murdered.
Our
Okay.
investigation determined that Turning Page had gone off into the forest with Scootaloo that night for currently unknown reasons. We believe this is why the victim was in the forest that night.
To look for them? Okay.
He was trying to save his son.
I see. You'd certainly need a very good reason to be willing to head that far into the forest. If I recall correctly, that place is filled with all kinds of dangerous creatures, isn't it?
It is indeed, Your Honor. Figuring out why the victim chose to go so far into the forest was one of the key questions we had during our investigation. It was the statement of one Miss Devotion that cleared the matter up for us.
Miss Devotion?
Miss Devotion?
The victim's wife, Fair Devotion. She's a substitute teacher at the local schoolhouse. While her husband was away in Canterlot, Miss Devotion would take care of her son all by herself. This on top of her demanding role as a teacher and member of the Ponyville School Board, you see.
It's a wife of a soldier right there.
She certainly sounds like a very kind, hard-working mare.
Thanks.
She was home when the victim returned, and it was she who told him the Turning Page had gone into the forest that night.
Okay.
So, the reason the victim went into the forest was to chase after his son?
That is what the evidence and statement currently point to, yes.
It's hard to argue against that. I guess in that case, I'll just see what other information I can draw out
So
of
in the
Private
time he
Eye.
got back
Now,
from the
Miss
train at
Sykes,
9:15,
You may begin your cross-examination.
he was dead within 30 minutes inside the forest? Like that quickly? They said he got off the train at
victim,
9:15,
Royal was
right?
stationed in Canterlot until late afternoon on the day of his murder.
What was he doing there?
He was performing his routine duties as a guard. Nothing out of the ordinary.
What did those duties entail?
Monitoring doors, patrolling hallways, the standard fare.
So he was just your average, everyday guard?
I suppose you could say that, yes.
There was nothing special about his rank, his title, anything at all?
Well, as a detective, I can only know so much. What do you think, Princess Luna?
It's just as Detective Eye says. As someone who gave the victim his orders, I can say with certainty that there was nothing that set him apart from the other guards in our entourage.
He was just some
If you're
joke?
looking for a motive defense, I'm sorry to say that you will not find it here.
Well, there you have it. You couldn't ask for a clearer answer than that.
Why is Luna gotta be so sassy?
Shoot.
I don't take
I was
pleasure
really
in
hoping
prosecuting
I would get
children.
something out of that. If he was just an ordinary guard, then that eliminates any potential motive that could be tied to his rank. Still, though, the way Private Eye shifted my question to Princess Luna, something still doesn't
what the
seem right here.
Defense, please stop staring at the witness and continue
All right.
your cross-examination.
We're having our anime inner monologue, sir.
Sorry, Your Honor. I'll have to look into that later. Gotta continue pressing the detective for information now.
After his shift ended, he boarded a train and arrived in Ponyville at around 9:15 that night.
How long had he stayed in Canterlot?
Nearly a month, according to our findings.
A month?
Royal Order often spent many weeks in Canterlot with little time to himself. Even when offered extended sabbaticals, he chose to forego them in service to the crown.
This fellow seemed like quite the workaholic.
Couldn't be me.
Says the guy working on his vacation.
He was simply honor-bound to serving Equestria and maintaining harmony amongst its citizens.
Good for him.
Whenever he wasn't on active duty, he spent all of his time with his family in Ponyville.
He certainly was the epitome of a royal guard's pony.
Okay.
His death will surely echo a great sense of loss for both his country and those close to him.
Okay.
That's odd. That sounded a lot more sorrowful than anything I would expect from Private Eye.
The day he was murdered was no different than any of his other off-duty times. He returned to Ponyville to visit his family. According to our investigation into the ticket purchases and train schedules for February 12th, Royal's train arrived in Ponyville at 9:15.
Train arrives
He
9:15.
headed straight home, arriving about 10 minutes later.
And what did the victim do once he got there?
Upon his return home, he was informed of Turning's whereabouts and decided to head into the Everfree Forest to find him.
So, it was Fair Devotion who told the victim that Turning Page had gone into the forest?
Indeed. We heard this from Miss Devotion herself.
And how did she know what her son was doing? I doubt she would have allowed Turning to go somewhere that dangerous.
He just
During
run
an
off.
investigation at the victim's house, he found a note written in Turning's horn writing confessing to his actions that night. Miss Devotion knew where her son had gone because of this note.
The fuck?
Went to the ever-free forest. Be back soon. Succinct and straight to the point. Just what I would expect from Turning. If Miss Devotion was the one who discovered this note, why didn't she go after him as soon as she found it?
As you said yourself, the Everfree Forest is a dangerous place, especially after dark.
Even to save your
She
kid?
knew Royal Order would be coming home soon, so she decided to wait until the more
Alright.
able-bodied pony had arrived before attempting to follow after her son. According to Miss Devotion, when Royal Order offered to go find him, she insisted on going with her husband, but he told her to stay put. She reluctantly complied, and watched him leave at around 9:30. That was the last time she ever saw him.
Ooh, that sounds rather ominous. Like something right out of a horror movie.
Did the victim make any stops on his way to the forest?
I beg your pardon?
I'm just wondering if it's possible that the victim went somewhere else before entering the Everfree Forest.
I'm afraid we neglected to look into this matter, so I cannot say anything for certain.
The forest entrance is roughly 20 minutes away from the victim's house. The crime scene is about 35 minutes away from the entrance. The body was discovered at 10:30 p.m. Do the math, attorney. Do you really think the victim could have dawdled before entering the forest?
Bro!
Considering there was only 5 extra minutes to do something else, I highly doubt it.
Well, not so fast, Prosecutor Luna.
Twilight?
What is it, Miss Sparkle?
The victim was a unicorn, wasn't he? Did he, by any chance, know how to teleport?
You tell him!
That's right. I have to keep
Yeah,
in mind
me
that
too.
this is a world of magic. Not everything here follows the rules of my own world.
Detective, do you have the answer to Princess Twilight's question?
I do indeed, Your Highness. Royal Order was an incredibly gifted unicorn.
Oh.
Teleportation was just one of many spells he had long since mastered.
So, if he could teleport, then the time it would have taken the victim to travel between locations is irrelevant. Wouldn't you say?
You have a point, but as I'm sure one as proficient in magic as yourself is aware, one cannot teleport to locations that they've never been.
You mean?
We could not find any indication that the victim had ever been to the castle of the two sisters before this incident. The best we could uncover were multiple instances of him and his son going to Froggy Bottom Bog to spar with the monsters that inhabit the
Spar
area.
with the monsters?
Froggy Bottom Bog.
Or a father-son? Okay.
I think I heard about that place yesterday. It's down the path that leads to the right from the crossroads, isn't
So
it?
you can teleport to the bog.
You can see it here on the map we drew of the forest. If one were to walk to Froggy Bottom Bog, they would first have to travel to the crossroads to get there.
So that means he could at least teleport as far as the crossroads, right? He must have been there before when traveling to his sparring sessions. If so, then he may have teleported to the crossroads first and walked the rest of the way to the castle. This could make his travel time 30 minutes at most.
Okay, did I misread that he died at 9:45?
Suppose that's a reasonable assumption to make. Then, are you saying
I think
that
I might
between 9:30 and 10, the victim was off doing something else? Why? His son had gone off into the Everfree Forest alone at night. Do you really think he'd waste time delaying his entrance into the forest?
I don't know, grab a
If
weapon,
anything,
grab something.
He would have used the extra half hour he had to search elsewhere in the woods. After all, it's not like he could have known exactly where his son was.
Yeah, that's true. It's kind of hard to believe that Royal Order would have risked his son's safety by taking a detour, given what we've heard about him so far. Twilight, any ideas?
Unfortunately, none. I didn't think this line of questioning was necessarily going to reveal anything case-breaking, but still, knowing that the victim had a half-hour period where he could act freely without heading to the crime scene, I think that might be something we'll want to keep in mind.
Yeah.
I agree. It might not be relevant, but you never know.
Miss Sykes! Miss Sparkle! If you aren't done whispering over there, then let's continue with the testimony.
Do we not have time to talk to my
Sorry,
counsel?
Your Honor. Private, please continue.
When he arrived at the base of the bridge, in front of the castle of the two sisters, he was ambushed.
Ambushed.
Hold it! He was ambushed?
We believe so, yes.
What led you to that conclusion?
It was the bruise on the left side of his body.
Someone just...
We believe that the assailant first delivered the blow to his torso in order to knock
Can
the
a
victim
kid
to
do
the
that?
ground. This was then followed up by at least 2 stabs to the head, the first of which must have killed the victim. If the victim had been on guard at the time, there isn't a chance some pony of his caliber would have been knocked down so easily. That is why we believe he was taken by surprise.
Can a kid even do that? Like,
walking through that dark, dangerous forest in the middle of the night, wouldn't the victim have been on guard regardless?
yeah, doesn't he have his light, his horn?
But you are forgetting something else, Miss Sykes. The victim was suffering from the effects of poison joke.
Weak knees!
I forgot about that.
The poison joke caused the victim's legs to be weaker than normal. So, when his assailant struck him, even if he was completely on guard, it's hard to believe he wouldn't have been knocked to the ground.
Alright.
I guess that's true.
Fuck.
That certainly seems to make sense. And what weapon are you proposing was used to knock the victim down?
We believe it was the sword of the defendant, Turning Page, my lord.
One of the defendants has a sword?
A wooden one, Your Honor. No need to worry. I have it right here. The defendant has been known to carry this sword everywhere he goes. That night was no different. According to our witness, when she last saw the defendant, his sword was still in one piece. Yet the sword you see now is broken. Turning Page's mother has also confirmed that his sword was undamaged earlier that day. The prosecution contends that the sword broke when it was used to attack the victim.
I see. That's definitely a
possibility.
strong possibility.
I mean, it could have started something else.
Wait, hold on. That's not how the sword broke.
Oh?
Yes, it's true that the sword is broken right now, but that's because...
Objection!
Oh, look at that font.
Before you explain it to us, defense, I would like you to tell us from where you learned this alternate interpretation.
From where? Well, I guess it was from Turning Page.
From the defendant himself, in other words? Do you truly believe that story to be reliable in that
What,
case?
so we should just throw out everything he says?
Unless you have some proof to back up his story, I think you do well to keep it to yourself for now.
Bitch! Stop looking. I don't enjoy
now?
prosecuting kids.
In any case, the prosecution recognizes that our own evidence on the matter is circumstantial. More definitive evidence may yet prove our claim to be false. At the moment, however, this interpretation of the facts surrounding the sword is the most likely scenario.
Most likely.
The court agrees with the prosecution.
Yeah, that's fine. Not concrete.
I know that's not how it happened.
It's okay.
That sword broke when Turning used it to attack those blackmailing bullies.
That's fine.
But unless I can find some proof of that, I'm not going to be able to convince anyone. Ugh, this sucks. If only I could get those two on the stand.
Yeah, I was about to say.
One of them might have a bruise somewhere that I could point out. That'll have to wait until later, though. I had to finish this testimony first.
So I assume that this sword of the defendant's was also used to
it's
stab the
wooden.
victim?
It was not, Your Honor. There wasn't a single trace of blood on the sword. No forensic spell or potion could reveal even a single drop.
But then, what was used to stab the victim?
Oh boy, here it comes.
It was a possession belonging to the other defendant, Miss Scootaloo. She stabbed him using her scooter.
It's so weird.
A scooter? How is that even possible? Scooters aren't sharp. Are they?
Not normally, my lord. But in this case, the scooter in question was broken.
Broken?
Coming back to me now.
How?
The left handlebar was snapped off, leaving behind a sharp, exposed bolt that could easily puncture a body.
So she
You can
picked
see
up
it in
the
the photo I
scooter?
submitted earlier, Your Honor. The scooter was unquestionably at the scene, and I have it recorded right here that the bolt itself was covered in blood. When tested, we discovered that the blood was indeed the victim's.
What? Order! Order, I say! I must admit, as unbelievable as it appeared to be at first, the more I listen, the more it seems like these two kids really did commit
What is the
this
motive,
crime.
though?
As regrettable as it is to think so, the evidence certainly points to that conclusion. The victim arrived on the scene and was ambushed by his son, turning page. He used his sword to hit his father's left side. This attack caused the sword to break. Thanks to the poison joke affliction that the victim was suffering at the time, he couldn't resist the impact and was knocked to the ground. At that point, the other assailant, Scootaloo, rushed to the victim's side.
Why are they doing
She
this?
stabbed him in the head multiple times with a scooter before he could even react to what was happening.
Yes, that does seem to be what happened, given the evidence so far.
Wait a second. I think there might be a
Oh, I
contradiction
missed
in
something.
the sequence of events. Although, I might be overthinking this.
What'd you see?
No. I have to be onto something here. Right?
Don't doubt yourself, Athena.
Twilight?
If you think there's a contradiction, then go for it. I'll be right here with you.
Hell yeah, let's do it.
Thanks, Twilight. Your Honor, I would like what Private Eye just said to be added to his testimony.
I'm trying to think of what it might be.
Very well. Detective, if you please.
Certainly, my lord. The victim was knocked to the ground and then stabbed before he could even react.
Objection! Private Eye, there's a contradiction in your testimony.
Oh? Please, do tell.
Yes, enlighten us, defense. What is this supposed contradiction?
Right. It's written
Be
here
confident.
in the autopsy report.
This is an objection
Cause
moment.
of death was a single stab wound to the right temple that caused immediate death, followed by at least one more post-mortem.
It does say that, yes, but I fail to see how this contradicts the witness's testimony.
Well, Your Honor, it's simple. If the victim was first knocked to the ground by a blow to his left side, as Private Eye claims, then tell me this.
He's laying on his right
Which side of
temple.
the victim's head would be facing up?
Well,
But I mean, the tape has him on his left side, doesn't it?
the left side, wouldn't it? Oh!
Exactly, Your Honor. The victim would land with the left side of his head facing up, meaning it would be impossible to stab him in the right temple.
Ah.
The tape has him on his left side, though, doesn't it?
Order! Order! That's certainly a puzzling contradiction. The victim couldn't possibly have been stabbed in the right temple if he were in that position. Prosecutor Luna, any thoughts?
You certainly pose an interesting dilemma, defense.
Yeah?
So, are you implying that the victim was first stabbed in the head and then hit in the torso? It would certainly help your case if you were. After all, a child would have a much more difficult time trying to stab a
Why are
fully
you
grown
smiling?
stallion in the head if he were standing up straight, even if one of them was a unicorn.
Yeah?
Is that what I'm implying here? Could the victim have been stabbed before he was struck?
It's like she wants you to imply
That can't
this.
be it, Athena. Think back to the autopsy report one more time.
Death was instant.
You're right, Twilight.
Well, Miss Sykes, is what the prosecution said true? Are you claiming that the victim was first stabbed and then struck?
Do you like my confused focus face?
I'm not, Your Honor.
You aren't?
Intriguing. And why not, defense?
It says so right here in the autopsy report. The victim suffered a large bruise on the left side of his torso ante-mortem. He was hit before he was killed. Since the autopsy report notes that the victim was instantly killed by the first stab wounds, that means it would have been impossible for the victim to have been struck in the torso after he was stabbed.
Go off, sis.
I did it! I managed
All
to
right,
find
calm
the
down.
prosecution's case.
Got a long way to
Way
go.
to go, Athena.
Let's see how the princess tries to get out of this one.
Prosecutor Luna, do you have an explanation
Probably.
for this seemingly unexplainable contradiction?
Of course I do.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Wait, what?
You can explain it? Then please share your theory with the court.
At once, Your Honor. As the defense has so eagerly demonstrated for us, the victim's autopsy report creates quite a few perplexing contradictions. However, there are two explanations that can clear them all up.
Two?
The first is a rather simple one. After the victim was struck, he fell onto something sharp, and it pierced his head, killing him.
Okay.
The victim fell onto
So
the
that's
murder
not a
weapon?
murder.
Well, it might not be right to call it a murder weapon. After all, there's no proof to indicate that the assailant ever intended on killing the victim, should this be the case. And the crime scene was a forest, after all. Who knows what could be on the ground? All kinds of dangerous objects, I'm sure.
Indeed. This murder could very well have been an accident in that case.
Okay.
But then, wouldn't the object that took
Still
the
got his
victim's
blood
life
on it.
still be at the scene? You would have found it there, wouldn't you?
Not necessarily.
Not if the culprit took it away in a panic or in fear.
And what about the blood on the scooter?
That could have been the result of our real culprit wishing to frame Miss Scootaloo for the crime. Even if it was an accident, the culprits still wouldn't want to be caught. They would likely fabricate a weapon to avoid their punishment. In truth, while the stab wound in question is quite similar in shape to the exposed bolt on the scooter, irregularities were discovered during the examination, which indicates that it's possible two different items could have stabbed the victim.
I see. Which would mean the culprit
Still
is...
at large?
Indeed, Your Honor. The evidence, as it stands, suggests that Turning Page was the one who knocked the victim over. On top of that, out of the two defendants, he's the only one who would benefit from making a fake weapon out of the scooter.
If that's the case, then everything would line up, wouldn't it?
What do you think, defense? Do you wish to argue that this was all an accident, perpetrated by Turning Page alone?
You're going up against the wrong person if you think you can manipulate
Yeah,
me into
like, why is
saying
she-
what you want, princess.
Why is she acting
That
like
being
this?
said, if I did argue that this was what happened, I could get Turning Page's sentence reduced significantly, and Scootaloo would be off the hook completely.
But do you think it's the truth in your
Is that
heart?
what I should do? Turning did say he'd be willing to take the blame for this, but Turning's looking at me. Is he trying to tell me to let him take the fall? But if I do that, then...
Athena?
I'm not sure what to do here, Twilight. The way things are going, I could
But
very
is it the
easily get
truth?
Scootaloo off the hook, and Turning a light prison sentence.
That would have everything turn out just as Turning asked back in the defendant lobby.
But I don't think I should do that.
Something's not sitting right.
If I do, that'll just mean we're admitting that Turning killed his own father, even if only by accident. And that will undoubtedly have a severe effect on him. His family, his peers, they'd never look at him or treat him the same way again. It'd ruin his life.
Even
Yeah.
so, Turning seems to be satisfied with that.
I mean,
Well, I'm not.
yeah.
I don't care if he thinks it'd be a good thing to do. Because it isn't. I'm supposed to look out for both his and Scootaloo's best interest. And him taking the blame isn't what she wants.
There we
So
go.
if Luna's got some sort of trap waiting for me, bring it on.
Hell yeah.
I'll never admit that either of them had anything to do with Royal Order's death.
If that's the path you're going down, then don't you worry. I've got your back.
Me too.
Thank you, Twilight.
Miss Sykes, if you're done whispering to your co-counsel, then tell us. Do you intend to argue that this murder was, in fact, an accident?
No.
No, Your Honor. I do not.
You don't?
The defense's stance is simply this. We assert that neither Scootaloo nor Turning Page had any hand, or hoof, rather, in this murder.
I thought you might say that. How ambitious of you, little golden pixie.
Golden Pixie?
If that's the case, then you are admitting that the second explanation for our autopsy contradiction is the correct one?
Yes.
I mean...
Of course. As soon as I figure out what that is.
Why would you say, of course?
Not so
Oh,
confident, are you?
Stop!
Perhaps once we elucidate the matter, you'll see the folly of your actions. Private Eye, if you please.
At once, Princess. If the issue is merely in regards to the claim that the victim didn't have time to react before getting stabbed, then the solution is simple. He did react.
Ugh.
When he was knocked
Okay.
over, he must have lifted his head to see who hit him. Once he did, his right temple would have been exposed, allowing the second assailant a chance to stab him.
I mean, but we're in the dark, right?
Right! That does clear up the contradiction quite nicely.
Well then, there you have it. If the defense refuses to argue that this was an accident, then this is the only other possibility that fits the evidence.
This isn't good. Unless I can poke a hole in this theory, we're gonna be up a creek with no paddle. There must be something we're overlooking.
Fuck!
Excuse me, Golden Pixie.
Can you stop saying that?
Yeah?
I see you're straining yourself over there. No doubt desperately clawing for some sort of
What is
advantage in this argument.
Was it that obvious?
Unfortunately, I'm afraid you're not going to find
Oh,
one.
yeah?
Just look over the evidence again, and I'm sure you'll realize you're fighting on the wrong side of this debate.
What?
Can you just, like, stick to your side of the
Fighting
fucking
on
court?
the wrong side. Why did Luna say that? Was that supposed to be a hint? Come on, think, Athena, think! Fighting on the wrong side.
He couldn't have stabbed him from the right if...
Wrong side.
They- I don't fuck...
Evidence shows that fighting on the wrong... I've got it! Objection! Your Honor, there's no way the murder could have played out the way the prosecution is claiming it did.
Oh? How so?
Okay, so she's
Sykes?
dropping hints?
Let's look back at the photo of the crime scene.
If you know it's fucked up, why are you
Here,
prosecuting?
we can see an outline of the body as it was at the time of the discovery. Looking at it, don't you find it to be a little odd?
He's on his left side?
Odd? What do you mean? The victim is on his side, just as the prosecution claimed.
Yes, but think back to the earlier theory.
Yeah, that's what I said.
The
The
victim was
tape's
hit
on
the
his left
of
side.
his torso and was knocked to the ground. Now, if he was hit on the left side, then his right side should have been what hit the ground, right?
Yes, I suppose so.
And yet, in this photo, we can clearly see the victim fell on his left side.
There we go.
You're right!
I thought the tape was on the left.
Order! Order! Prosecutor Luna, do you have an explanation?
Probably she's playing like both sides.
Completely overturns your entire case.
Quite literally, in fact.
You aren't fazed by it?
I'm afraid not, Your Honor. Sorry to disappoint you.
So then, do you have an explanation for this after all?
Perhaps we should allow the one who brought this to our attention an opportunity to explain it first.
I don't know whether I'm supposed to like
Who
Luna or not
else?
right now.
Well, I don't know. I just pointed out the contradiction. I hadn't really thought about what it means yet.
Well, one thing it could mean, Prosecutor Luna, is that the police made a mistake when they were outlining the body.
I guess.
I assure you, no mistakes were made. I saw to the removal of the body myself. The tape outline was made around the body just before it was removed. Private Eye can confirm this, as he was also there at the time.
Yes. The tape was laid down before the body was moved. There's no chance it was a mistake on our part.
If that's the case, then this contradiction eliminates the possibility of this being an accidental
Maybe
killing.
he fucking
The
got the
victim
bruise from
couldn't
hitting
have
the
fallen on
ground. I don't
something
know.
if he ended up with his stabbed side facing towards the sky.
Indeed. And what else?
Well...
Oh, I think I've got it. It would also mean that the body itself had to have been moved, right?
Tampered with?
How so?
If the side of his body that was hit somehow ended up facing the ground, it would mean that whoever killed him must have moved the body from somewhere else, and placed it down incorrectly.
Is this another framing
I
thing?
don't know if that was by accident or on purpose, but the body had to have been moved.
And why couldn't the explanation be as simple as the victim himself having rolled over after being hit? Or having his feet swept out from under him, causing him to fall on his left side?
Because if he really did land on his right side after being hit and then rolled over, he would have ended up facing away from his attacker, regardless of which direction he rolled. I doubt he would have wanted to let them out of his sight.
As for why the assailant couldn't have swept out his knees, the autopsy report doesn't mention anything about the victim's knees being injured. Even if they were weak at the time, some bruise or mark would have been left behind if they were hit with enough force to topple them over.
There's no doubt that the victim must have fallen over when he was hit. His legs were far too weak to support him after suffering the blow to his side.
So, how's that for an answer, Prosecutor Luna? The victim's body was moved after he was killed. That's the only way he could have ended up being found with the left side of his body facing the ground.
The only way? Are you sure about that?
Ay, caramba. What now?
For real, what is
what? You are forgetting one last possibility.
And what would that be, Prosecutor Luna?
First, let's review what we've uncovered so far. We know that the victim was struck on his left side, which undoubtedly caused him to fall on his right side. However, when the body was discovered, the victim was found to have fallen on his left side. Between the time the victim fell over and the time the body was discovered, the victim must have moved to account for this change in positioning.
Exactly. The culprit, after killing the victim, moved the body.
That's not necessarily the case, Golden Pixie.
Why the fuck are you saying Golden Pixie?
What do you mean?
Undoubtedly, the victim was knocked over after he was hit. But who's to say that's also when he died?
You mean?
You said it was immediate,
Yes, I do. The victim was not stabbed when he was knocked to the ground. Instead, after he was knocked over, he managed to stand himself back up. After an unspecified amount of time, he was then stabbed in the right temple, which caused him to fall over onto his left side.
So he got hit, got up, and then got stabbed?
Order! Order in the court! After hearing both the prosecution and defense's claims, I believe I must side with the prosecution's stance.
What? Why?
Your theory of the body being moved, while plausible, simply lacks enough evidence to back it up, and leaves too many questions unanswered. If the body was moved, who moved it, why, and from where?
Yeah.
Those are all, really good questions, Your Honor.
Oh, why thank you, Miss Sykes.
Does all that getting up
I
and
have
shit
been
like
doing
fit in the
this for quite
timeline
some
still?
time, you know.
If you wish to pursue the theory of the body having been moved, you'll need to first disprove that he was killed at the castle ruins. All of the evidence presented in the trial so far points towards the likelihood of the murder occurring there. Furthermore, nothing was missing from the crime scene to suggest that the murder may have occurred elsewhere.
My brain's on full power right now.
There it is again. She's hinting at something. What does she want me to see? Something missing from the crime scene? Everything's here, isn't it? The scooter that stabbed the victim, the body itself, the... Wait a second. The body that was stabbed is there, but there's something else that should be there but isn't. This is it! Your Honor, the defense has evidence to counter the prosecution's
The sword?
claims.
I don't know.
Then please show it to us, Miss Sykes.
Look at this photo one more time. There's a grave contradiction contained within it.
A contradiction? Where?
Right here, Your Honor. Take that! Look at the area near the head of the victim. If we go by the prosecution's theory, then the victim would have fallen in the place he was stabbed. However, if that was the case, then there should be a pool of blood around the victim's head.
Yes, there should be.
Okay.
But looking at this picture, what do you see?
No blood.
There's no blood at all.
And that's precisely the significant contradiction in that photo, Your Honor. An area that should be caked in blood has no trace of it whatsoever.
Okay, but why is Luna walking us through this right now?
If the crime scene lacks even a drop of blood to speak of, that casts significant doubt over whether the victim was stabbed there at all.
Indeed it does, Miss Sykes.
So, how could this be the case, you might ask? The answer is obvious. The victim's body was moved from somewhere else to the castle ruins. That's the only possibility.
Interesting claim, Golden Pixie. And you sounded so triumphant while making it, too. It's a shame that it's completely flawed.
Do I like you or not right now? What
blood? How?
True, there doesn't appear to be any blood on the scene right now. But once I bring my next witness to the stand, that tune of yours will surely change.
See, what? She's dropping hints and stuff, and then she's being sassy and happy.
To see if it's who I think it is.
Very well.
I don't know what's going on.
Detective, you may leave the stand, but please remain in the courtroom. We may need your opinion on other matters as they come up.
Of course, my lord.
Now then, let the prosecution's next witness take the stand.
All right, who is it? Zecora.
Witness, please state your name and occupation for the record.
My name is Zecora, an apothecary. I make my home in the Everfree.
You live
kind of
in
rhymed.
the Everfree Forest?
You're a zebra?
Oh, right. I guess I forgot to mention that, didn't I?
You and Apple Bloom both.
And you say you're an apothecary?
Yes, Your Honor. I am indeed. Crafting potions is my creed. The forest creatures are bizarre, but their wonders are unmatched by far.
Interesting.
I just noticed that she's rhyming. Oh boy. I really hope that this doesn't mean what I think it might.
It's gonna continue.
Let's get back on topic, shall we? Witness, is it true that, on the night of the murder, you were the one who discovered and reported the victim's body?
Yes. Quite sadly, this is true. It was a scene most gruesome, too.
So there was blood everywhere?
Please, give us your testimony in relation to this gruesome discovery.
Of course, Your Honor. I shall speak. I'm sorry for this tale is bleak.
All right.
That evening, I was tending to the plants near my home. Two little ponies passed, heading towards the castle dome. For a while I waited, but return they did not, so I chose to head home at an agile trot. But soon I heard a strange far-off sound.
Sound?
I ran to where those ponies were bound.
What sound?
On my way, a small shadow my eyes did track, but it jumped away before I could react. Upon arrival, what met my gaze I'll not forget for all my days. A pony's body, still with blood around his head, turning earth to mud. Once I was sure that he was dead, to the police I quickly
Did
fled.
that last one rhyme?
Can life cut me a break already? It's hard enough sifting through testimonies without
where'd
having
the
to
blood go?
decipher them first.
It must have been horrifying to see a dead body that night. But if the Everfree Forest is as dangerous as you say it is, well, wouldn't bodies be a common sight?
Not pony bodies.
Most creatures are clean with the food they hunt, but a corpse in the open? A surprise, to be blunt.
You saw blood on the ground around the body?
Of all the life that he had bled, hovering a red layer around his
So
head.
what happened to it?
Jackson! That's impossible! We checked the area ourselves. Even this photograph shows there was no traces of blood. Your testimony is completely contradictory.
Yeah, what happened
Point
to
your
it?
rage at me. I have told you all I've seen.
Perhaps I can shed some light on this matter.
You shed light?
Do you have
That's
something that
Celestia's
can
job.
explain this contradiction, Prosecutor Luna?
Of course, Your Honor. I'd look rather silly if I didn't.
Very well. Please explain for us.
As was just stated, this witness was the one who reported the body to the police. She accompanied them to the crime scene, and they found it in exactly the same state as she just described. The victim lying in a pool of his own blood.
Okay.
I have here a photograph of that very scene.
Oh.
You're right. The victim does appear to be lying in a pool of blood.
But why was it gone the next day?
Yeah.
That will become clear soon enough. First, the prosecution would like to submit this evidence to the court, along with
There's
this
blood
photograph.
on it?
And what is this?
It's a cape, Your Honor. The emblem on it denotes it as belonging to the Cutie Mark Crusaders, the group of which the defendant, Scootaloo, is a member.
That must be the third cape that Private Eye said the police had taken for examination.
As you can see in this earlier photograph, 2 more of these capes, as well as the fabric used to line their undersides, laid in this wagon attached to the scooter. It likely goes without saying, but this wagon also belongs to Scootaloo.
Yeah.
Wicked stallions! Just what were the defendants up to in that forest?
I don't know.
We'll cover that in a moment. For now, I would like to draw further attention to this cape here.
It's got blood on
Upon testing it, we found that it was absolutely drenched in the victim's blood.
Maybe you were trying to use it as
The cape was covered in blood?
cover the wound
You
to help
mean-
save him?
Someone tried to clean up the crime scene?
I can't imagine that to be the case. Going by where this cape was found, I'd say there's another more likely possibility.
Where was it found?
This cape was discovered underneath the victim's body, specifically under his head.
You mean that pool of blood Zecora saw?
It appears as though the little golden pixie has figured
See,
it out.
why is she...
When the police went to examine the blood, they discovered that it wasn't blood at all. It was actually this cape right
What?
here.
You thought the cape was blood?
So,
Come on.
she was on the wrong track all along.
Looks like it. Yup.
Now do you understand, defense? When the victim fell to the ground
I get that
after
it's
being
dark,
stabbed,
but...
he must have fallen on top of this cape. Any blood that seeped from his wound would have trailed down his face and been absorbed by the cloth. When the witness came across it, she mistook the cape for blood due to its red
I don't
color.
know.
The fact that there
I
was
don't-
no blood at the scene is
I don't think I'd
completely
buy that.
irrelevant. After all, it was the police themselves who removed it.
This can't be right.
Hey, don't panic.
Dragging things out like this for those two children is just cruel. Even if they're guilty, why can't the lawyers see that?
Order! Order! My word! It seems as if the defense's argument has been completely
Alright, what the
overturned.
fuck do we say?
Indeed it has, Your Honor. Despite what they claimed, it's clear that the body was never moved. The scene of the crime was undoubtedly at the foot of the bridge. The blood on this cape proves it. And, as luck would have it, I have one more
Oh my
piece of
fucking
information
God.
that will crush the defense's rebuttal once and for all.
No, please.
We're taking a pounding.
No more.
Upon examining the area where the cape lay, thanks to forensic spell testing, we discovered traces of blood underneath the area around the victim's head.
Really?
It seems as if the cape absorbed more blood than it could handle, and some of it leaked through to the ground below. Further testing of this blood revealed that it belonged to the victim. Your Honor, I submit to you the photo of the victim's
It was a
body,
silk
as
cape,
well as
right?
the blood-stained cape as evidence.
Does
Very
silk
well.
soak up blood
The
good?
court
I'm
accepts
trying to
that.
think of anything. It's like golden silk. That doesn't soak up blood, right?
Defense? Care to share your thoughts on the matter?
Not if I don't want to get held in contempt of court.
It seems the golden pixie has been rendered speechless in the face of such
What is your
irrefutable
problem?
evidence.
Just ignore her. Ignore everyone, okay?
What the fuck do I
I'm
say?
not gonna lose. Time to get my brain in gear. There has to be something off in her theory. Luna's saying that the body was never moved. The reason there was no blood at the scene is because it was absorbed by the cape.
I'm
In
thinking.
that case, the victim would have stood up after being knocked over by turning. Afterwards, Scootaloo hit him in the head with the scooter, which knocked him to the ground again. Is there anything wrong with that series of events? Wait a second. If the victim was standing up when he was stabbed, then wouldn't it be impossible for—
Miss Sykes! Do you, or do you not, have any objections to the prosecutor's theory?
You bet I do.
Feigning confidence will get you nowhere, defense.
Stop!
Objection!
Your Honor, the defense would like to point out a flaw in the prosecution's theory.
I don't see anything.
Get on with it!
Yes, Your Honor. The issue has to do with the victim's fatal stab wound being inflicted while the victim was standing upright. I would think stabbing an adult at such a height would be nearly impossible for a child. Correct?
Objection!
Yeah.
You forget that the owner of that scooter is a Pegasus. What's stopping them from simply flying up and stabbing him that way?
Oh, she can't
Funny
fly.
You should mention that. I heard something from the defendant in question yesterday that clears up this matter. Namely, the fact that Miss Scootaloo can't fly.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Order! Order! Prosecutor Luna, is this true? If Miss Scootaloo can't fly, then there's no way she could have stabbed a stallion in the head while he was standing.
Of course she couldn't.
Can I take you by surprise at least once?
What, you
in
think
this
Turning
trial?
did it?
What the defense has said is absolutely true. I have the medical report from Scootaloo's doctor right here. Contrary to Pegasus Filly's her age, her wings haven't fully developed yet, and thus, she cannot fly.
Okay.
But if you knew that, then why were you arguing that she could have stabbed somewhere she couldn't even reach?
Now, when did I ever claim that? All I ever claimed was that some pony stabbed him whilst he was standing
What, you think it's
upright.
Turning?
If it was impossible for Scootaloo to have done so, then that leaves only one option, doesn't it?
Uh-oh.
Turning Page is a talented unicorn for his age, and levitation is a relatively simple
I don't
skill
know.
to learn.
During that diagram at first, you
even
said
for
Scootaloo
colts
did
and
it. At least the
fillies.
detective did.
I'm sure he'd have no problem levitating the scooter up to his father's head and stabbing him with it.
Objection!
Princess Luna, if you choose to claim that, then Scootaloo would have done nothing wrong.
Yeah, what was
Am I
she
right?
doing there?
Princess Twilight, please explain what you mean.
Yeah, what would she even be
It's
doing
simple,
there?
Your Honor. If Turning Page was the one who assaulted his father, and then proceeded to stab him in the head with the scooter, then Scootaloo would be completely innocent. Nothing but a bystander at most. Am I right,
Well, then that begs
Princess
the
Luna?
question, what the hell is she doing there?
We shall see. First,
That's my
I
face.
think
What?
it's time for the defense's cross-examination of our witness.
Oh
We've
my
been putting
god.
that off for long enough now.
Oh, yeah. I kind of forgot that Zecora was
Hey,
even
Zecora.
here.
Very well.
Why the fuck
Let us begin the
did you think a
cross-examination.
cape was blood? I'm sorry. I get it's dark, but I...
That evening, I was tending to the plants near my home.
Hold it! You were tending to plants?
Yes, that's what I said.
Yes, my plants must grow up strong, lest the potion turn out wrong.
Including that poison joke in front of your home?
Yes, they're blooming but not quite grown, since only recently they were sown.
Are these plants of yours hard to find?
Many flowers around my home can't grow without the forest gnome. They're so rare that to meet my needs, I search the forest for their
Okay.
seeds. I tend to them both day and night, and harvest them when the time is right. But poison joke differs. It's often seen in a sproul, but at this time of year, it hardly grows at all.
And he went through a patch
so
of
you
it?
scour the forest for plants. Did you happen to do that on the day of the murder?
I searched quite long that day. From dawn to dusk, I was away. When I got home with the seeds I sought, I tended to my garden plot.
Did you happen to visit the castle of the two sisters that day?
Yes, for along that castle's cliffside, sometimes rare flowers peek and hide. Sadly, when my search was done, I left without finding a single one.
Just to confirm, the body didn't happen to be at the foot of the bridge at that time, did it?
I understand what you mean to say, but no, the body wasn't there that day.
We already know when the victim died. It was long after this witness was scouring the area for plants.
So where was the poison
joke?
joke he
with
went?
these pointless questions and move on.
Well, at least I got some information. Not exactly sure how helpful it was.
Said it doesn't bloom this time of year. Limited. Guess it's still possible.
Please continue, witness.
2 little ponies passed, heading towards the castle dome.
Did you happen to see who they were?
Of the colt I had no clue, but the filly was Miss Scootaloo.
So you saw the children walking through the forest that night?
It surely was a curious sight. 2 foals traveling solo that night. The
How'd you see that in the
was
dark?
well known, so I thought, what are they doing alone?
They were going to settle the blackmail with Diamond Tiara and Silver Spoon. But I can't bring that up
Oh
yet.
yeah, that's a thing.
It'll just be rejected outright.
These 2 ponies. Was there anything about them that caught your eye?
Scootaloo looked frightened, but that wasn't so strange. The forest scares any pony of any age. The colt was holding something thick, but not with his hooves, but with magic.
And what was that?
It was a bolt of fabric, rolled. The moonlight showed that it was gold.
That checks out with what Scootaloo said yesterday. How Turning Page offered to carry it for her just in case.
This matches what we found at the crime scene, as there was a roll of golden silk left behind in the wagon.
It would seem that way.
He also carried a weapon, a sword of solid wood. Given where they were going, I thought this was good.
And I'm assuming this sword was in one piece.
Okay, yeah.
Am I right?
Indeed, there wasn't a single crack. The sword appeared fully intact.
So the defendant's sword really was whole while heading to the sea.
And it then broke when he used it to attack the
Hey
victim.
now.
Indeed. That's seeming more and more likely.
Not confirmed.
At some point here, I need to counter with how the sword really broke. But I'm still missing the evidence to support Turning's version of events. One way or another, I'm going to have to find it soon.
Witness, please continue your testimony.
For a while I waited, but return they did not. So I chose to head home at an agile trot.
You just stood on the path and waited?
It would not have done to stand and wait, for time has an unchanging gait. Along the central path nearby, some plants were quite nearly bone dry. These I tended by the light of the moon, expecting the foals to come back soon.
How long were you waiting for them?
I worked from 9:45 to about 10:10, so a half hour had nearly passed by then.
And you just stood there, taking care of plants the whole time? Weren't you worried about 2 kids going so far into the forest by themselves?
Of course I was! Who wouldn't be? After all, they were in the Ever-Free. But for all that time there was no sound, nor any sign that they were found.
No sound?
On the path I kept one eye, in case they returned or another passed by.
For all that time, there's no
I guess
sound.
no one ever came then?
No one did, neither pony nor foal. I finished my work without seeing a soul. So I decided to head home and
Wait,
rest.
so you didn't see
until
Turning?
I heard something that brought dread to my
Not
chest.
Turning, but got the Royal Guard. Forgot his name.
But soon I heard a strange far-off sound. I ran to where those ponies were bound.
What was that sound?
Noise?
It sounded unlike anything I'd ever heard. Not a bear, manticore, wolf, or bird. I could hear it echo around, a strangely loud metallic sound.
You mean like a clang?
It was a particular tone to hear, though clang does suit well with what reached my ear.
This again? First a fabric roll, and now a clang? Any other similarities to the case from 2 days ago I should know about? Do you know when you heard this clang?
As soon as I heard it, I checked the time.
10:15.
It was 10:15 right on the dime.
There was a clang.
And do you know where it came from?
I know not much to my shame. I could not tell from where it came. I remembered where the children were headed. The sound coming from there was a thought I dreaded.
So, what did you do then?
I made up my mind to find the foals. Reaching and protecting them were my goals. That plan was briefly sent awry when something weird caught my eye.
The shadow?
On my way, a small shadow my eyes did track, but it jumped away before I could react.
Hold it!
What the hell could that be?
I wish I could describe it more than just weird, but it left as soon as it had appeared. Still, it was rather odd to me, so I included it with my testimony.
Okay,
Do
what
you
the
know
hell
when
could
and
that
where
be?
you saw this shadow?
5 minutes after would be the when, so I'd wager it was 10:20 then. Where is difficult, I must confess, as Everfree has no address.
Here, witness. Point it out on this diagram.
You have my thanks, Princess Luna. Now let me fill this lacuna.
Lacuna?
Yes. It was this spot right here. Or, at least, someplace near.
So just on the path?
I thought we were on the path towards collision, but then it jumped out of my line of vision.
For those unaware, the Everfree Forest is notorious for being absolutely pitch black at night. The intense tree cover prevents most forms of light from reaching the forest floor. However, this incident occurred on the night of a full moon, so sunlight was able to illuminate the areas that lacked direct cover from trees. Unfortunately, the rest of the forest remained as pitch black as one would expect it to be.
Was there any detail about the shadow you could make out at all? Shape? Size? Anything?
Even in darkness, there was one distinct feature. At the very least,
That looks like
it
a
seemed
foal.
like a small creature.
Small? Like a child?
That's what I thought after what I'd seen. I looked for them, seeing only the forest green. I tried calling out, hoping they would return, but if they had responded, I could not discern. Perhaps they cared not to heed me well, or perhaps my voice drowned under the howling swell.
Howling swell?
Howling?
Yes, and quite loudly, for one main reason. 'Tis now the Timberwolves' hunting season.
Oh.
Whenever they are on the prowl, they raise their canine heads and howl. On that night they were easily heard, and they kept going undeterred. When they stopped, I do not know. By then I knew it was time to go.
So they were just howling the whole
What do you think
time?
made them howl?
Who is to say? Certainly not me. Into a Timberwolf's mind I cannot
You said you didn't
see.
hear anything
As I have told
from
you,
9:45
it's
to
their hunting season.
10.
But truthfully, it could be for any reason.
Let's focus on what we can answer then, shall we? Witness, what did you see once you arrived at the scene?
Upon arrival, what met my gaze I'll not forget for all my days. A pony's body, still with blood around his head, turning earth to mud.
Turning earth to mud?
But it wasn't blood. It was a cape, right?
I'll admit my interpretation was flawed, but if you don't have a problem, don't needlessly prod.
You didn't check to make sure?
When I came upon the former guard of the law, his stillness shocked me, not a breath did he draw. Creeping closer to his still build, I hoped my fears would be dashed by thrills, but my suspicions proved correct, as I realized when I checked his
neck.
No pulse of life-giving blood I found. He was as dead as winter's ground.
And
You
what
still
did you
didn't see the
do
cape?
after that?
That gruesome discovery sent me reeling and gave me a terrible, sickening feeling. The moment I reclaimed my head, I glanced about, filled with dread. There were still the children I needed to find, and their fates were plaguing my mind. Thankfully, as I looked around, no other bodies could be found. Merely a scooter and a wagon lay amidst the frightening horde display.
There was no one nearby?
Perhaps that shadow, of which I caught sight, was one of the children in mid-flight.
What the fuck is that clang?
Hid while farewell to that scene I bid. But
There's a lot of info thrown in here.
Since no other figures I did find.
You sure? There was nobody there at all? Maybe hiding in the trees or something?
Objection! Continuing to press the issue won't yield a different answer, defense. I suggest you move on before you waste all of our time.
I suggest you stick to your side of the courtroom.
Excuse me, princess. Nothing wrong with double checking, now is there?
Witness, what happened after you found the body?
Once I was sure that he was dead, to the police I quickly fled.
Hold it! Did you happen to run into anyone on your way there?
While leaving the forest, I saw not a soul. It was, ironically, a more pleasant stroll.
I see. And how long did it take you to get to the police station?
I'm not sure. My sense of time dissolved amidst the thoughts of the crime.
You know what time he got there?
Let's puzzle it out then, shall we? Witness, you claim to have left your house at 10:15. Is that correct?
Yes, it is exactly as you claim. I left right as the odd noise came.
From there, you headed to the scene of the crime, which we have confirmed was a roughly 15-minute walk. This means you arrived around 10:30. Next, you examined the scene. How long would you say you stayed there?
Well, it doesn't feel right to make a guess. I'd say 5 minutes, more or less.
So you left at 10:35. The walk out of the ruins and then back through the forest is approximately 35 minutes. The police station itself is another 10 minutes away from the forest. This puts the witness arriving there around 11:20 that night.
Those are some very nice calculations, Prosecutor Luna.
Okay, why are you complimenting?
Oh, come on. Don't be that impressed.
The best is yet to come, Your Honor. I have here a report from that very station. It confirms that this witness notified the police of a body around that time.
Okay.
Order! Order!
Great. Instead of casting doubt on her testimony, you just made it even more reliable.
There's got to be something. That was a shitload of information.
Hopeless. There's not a single contradiction.
You sure?
What am I
She said she didn't hear anything in that little time period, but the Timberwolves should have been howling.
I believe we have reached the end of this cross-examination.
Agreed, Your Honor. I don't think our golden pixie can
Stop
take
saying
much
that.
more. Best we put her out of her misery now.
What about you, defense? Are you finished with this testimony? As far as the court can see,
There's gotta be something.
there
That
were
was
no
so much.
contradictions contained within it. As things stand, we will have to trust in what the witness has told us. If you have a rebuttal, Miss Sykes, now would be the time to give it.
Sure. I'll get right on it with a whole lot of nothing I can even say. Twilight? Do you have any ideas?
Well, just one. But
What, that Zecora killed him?
What is it?
I don't think it's a good idea though.
Well, just
We ain't about to blame
tell it to me
Zecora,
anyway.
are you?
We can decide together.
I don't think we have the time for that, Athena. Let's just keep following the flow of the trial. Maybe something else will come up later that we can attack.
No, we can't just let this slide. This testimony is too damaging. We have to strike now.
Oh my
I
god.
understand that, Athena. I do. But right now, I don't think there's anything more we can do.
But we can't just give up, Twilight. You said you'd try and help me in
She
any way you
is.
could. If you have an idea for how to get us out of this mess, even if it's awful, you have to
Are you about to
tell
blame
me.
Zecora?
Otherwise, we'll lose.
I know that. But I can't let you do this. I've seen it happen before, and it's not worth it. There has to be another way.
There is no other way. We need to do something right now. We can't let Scootaloo or Turning Page
Oh my
down.
god, they're about to blame
I'm
Zecora,
not
aren't they?
saying we should give up. I'm just saying that
Unless you two are interested in sharing with the court what you are squabbling about, I believe it is time we moved on.
No! I can't let this happen. If I let this testimony stand, he'll never be able to recover from it.
Are we really about to do this again?
Witness, thank you for your time. You may...
Objection! Wait, hold on. There's something about the witness's testimony that I find strange.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, really now? Please, do tell.
Athena, stop! Sorry, Twilight, but I can't just sit and wait for an opportunity to show itself. I have to knock this testimony down now.
This better not be a bluff, Miss Sykes.
Of course it isn't, Your Honor.
Oh my god.
It totally is.
Shut up!
Shut up, Widget.
Talking to yourself, are we?
Will you shut up?
Don't let them distract you, Athena. If Twilight doesn't want to help me, then I'll just have to figure this out by myself. But there aren't any contradictions or flaws. What now? What would Mr. Right do here?
Blame her?
He'd turn his thinking around. Think outside of the box.
Oh?
If I can't cast doubt on the testimony itself, then what if I just cast doubt on the one testifying? Is there a way to do that?
Miss Sykes, I've had enough of you wasting this court's time. Present your rebuttal, or let us move on.
Yes, Your Honor. Here goes nothing. So, actually, the previous testimony didn't have any noticeable contradictions in it.
What? Is that not what we've been saying this whole time?
Yes, but, well...
Oh my god, you are...
What if we think about this another way?
You are in shambles right now.
Another way?
Athena.
According to the testimony, Zecora saw Scootaloo and Turning Page headed towards the crime scene. She heard a noise and headed there herself. On the way, she came across the two running away from the scene, and shortly afterwards, she arrived on the site.
And right there, she found the dead body of one royal order. I see no point in us repeating all of this.
Is she about to do it?
Well, let's think about that last point for a minute. As we established earlier, the victim suffered both a blow to the side and a stab to the head. What's more, we know for a fact that after the victim was knocked to the ground, he managed to get back up again.
Quite so. Our current theory is that Turning Page was the one who hit him, using his sword. However, if he was killed right at that
I don't know what she's getting at other than blaming
wound would be on the
Zecora.
opposite side of his head. Therefore, he must have had an opportunity to stand upright before being stabbed and falling over again.
Right. But as was pointed out earlier, Scootaloo could not have been the one to inflict the fatal wound. She can't fly, so she wouldn't have been able to stab Royal Order in the head after he stood up.
Which leads us to the conclusion that it must have been Turning Page. He used his magic to stab the victim with the scooter. There wasn't anyone else on the scene who could have done it, after all.
Yeah, there was.
This is it. Now's my chance. I may not personally believe what I'm about to say, but I don't have a choice now. My hand's been forced. But there was someone on the scene, actually. After Scootaloo and Turning Page fled, someone else arrived and had the perfect opportunity to murder the victim.
Athena, please.
Wait! You aren't saying...
Oh my god.
Defense?
Let's assume that Turning Page really did hit his father, and he fell to the ground. Now, at that point, who's to say Scootaloo and Turning didn't flee right then, without killing him?
What, so Zecora just came up on him and killed him?
Mean the one who showed up on the scene after they left would have...
Exactly. Given this scenario, it's entirely possible that our witness, Miss Zecora, is Royal Order's true
I'm doing this again.
What?
This is fucked up. Poor Zecora.
Order! Order in the court! Miss Sykes, are you saying that her whole testimony was one giant lie made to cover up her crime?
Not necessarily everything. Just the part where she claimed to have stumbled across the dead body. The defense believes that, instead of finding Royal Order dead, Zecora came across him as he was getting up. She then took the scooter that was left on the scene and stabbed him
Why
in
would
the
you do
head.
that, though?
Afterwards, she reported the body to the police, claiming he was already dead when she found him.
That is a ridiculous accusation! What could possibly be my motivation?
Turning and Scootaloo don't have motives either. Is it really that much of a stretch to suspect you as well? Your Honor, I may not have any evidence to back up this claim, but you can't deny it is a possibility. As such, we shouldn't take stock in any of this witness's testimony.
It's true. The yellow attorney brings up a good point. Would the mayor really do that? though?
No.
Dunno. But hey,
Dunno.
if she's right, that means those two kids are innocent.
You naive child!
Child?
Prosecutor Luna, please. There will be
Yeah.
no insults in my courtroom.
For one who knows not the weight of her words, I can't think of a better comparison.
You've been talking shit all fucking trial.
I was just...
You intend to cast doubt on the witness in order to save your own clients. Yet, to do so, you accuse her
That
of
is
committing
fucked
the
up.
crime herself.
Well, what else was I supposed to do? That testimony
Was not at all conclusive.
Huh?
The witness never saw who the killer was. She didn't even clearly see who was running away from the scene.
But that's what you and Your Honor were assuming.
And it's your job to point out why that assumption is flawed, and demand further evidence and testimony for the prosecution to support their case. But instead of doing that, you have openly accused this witness. You have dirtied not just her name, but if you're wrong...
Well, to be fair, it
yours
is a
as well.
possibility.
And you...
It's fucked up,
ponies
but...
of the gallery. You who would be so quick to suspect this poor creature on nothing but a baseless theory. Shame on you all! Is this the kind of harmony Equestria seeks to share with the world?
Order! Order!
Yeah, fucking
That's
hell.
enough, Prosecutor Luna. Make one more disparaging remark towards Miss Sykes or the gallery, and I'll have you held in contempt of court.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from,
My
Luna, but
apologies,
like,
Your
you're going on about harmony, meanwhile you're fucking
Say what
shitting
you
on her,
want, Prosecutor Luna.
having fun with
But my
accusing
theory doesn't
kids.
contradict any of the evidence or testimony presented in this trial.
Yeah.
As long as that remains true, I'm free to continue asserting it.
It's a possibility. That's
Very
undeniable.
well. If that's the path you choose, so be it. I wonder if your co-counsel feels the same way.
Yeah, Twilight has been here before.
I'm sorry, Twilight, but it's too late for me to back down.
Nevertheless, you shan't be relying on that theory for much longer. If I can't convince you to simply abandon it, then I'll just force you to go against it.
What do you mean? Uh-oh. I don't like the sound of this.
You mentioned motive a minute ago, did you not? The motive that Scootaloo and Turning Page lack?
Okay.
It's about time we discussed that, don't you think? So bring out that letter you received yesterday.
Letter?
The blackmail letter. I know you have
What?
it. Show it to the court. Now.
Darn it. What does she know about the blackmail?
What is going
Or
on?
Turning tell her?
Defense? What's this about a blackmail letter?
Oh my god.
Your Honor,
I mean, you don't have to show it.
It's right here. Scootaloo and her friends, the Cutie Mark Crusaders, received it yesterday afternoon. Their scooter, wagon, and capes were all stolen by some pony. To get them back, they'd have to bring the blackmailer a roll of golden silk.
Those items all sound familiar.
They should, Your Honor. All of these items were accounted for at the crime scene.
Are you guys gonna be mad at me because I got mad at Luna?
Right. But
I feel like
why
you're gonna
would that
shit on me
be?
in the comments for
Read
that.
the letter yourself, and I'm sure you'll figure it out.
Oh, the location of the blackmail. It's the same place where the murder occurred.
Precisely, Your Honor. Now, we finally know why the defendants were in the forest in the first place. They went to settle this deal with their blackmailer.
I see. And I guess this would mean Turning Page is a member of these cutie mark crusaders?
Not exactly, Your Honor. The two had met for the first time earlier that day. They became quick friends over the course of an afternoon.
But then, why did Mr. Page get involved with the blackmail?
During her interrogation, the defendant, Scootaloo, mentioned that she was backed into a corner when her friends decided against following the orders they were given. She decided, instead, to ask her newfound friend, Turning Page, to help her retrieve what had been taken. The two conspired to break into and steal from Carousel Boutique in order to acquire the golden silk the blackmailer asked for.
So why?
These two kids
How do you know all this?
broke into a store?
Why'd you talk to them?
Oh, this doesn't look good.
After acquiring the fabric, they proceeded to enter the forest and made their way to the scene where the blackmailer was waiting.
And this blackmailer, who were they?
I can answer that, Your Honor. The defense believes they were two fillies
Oh,
named
shit.
Diamond Tiara and Silver Spoon.
Diamond Tiara and Silver Spoon?
An infamous pair of bullies whom the Crusaders are unfortunately well acquainted with. They constantly harass the group for not having their cutie marks yet, calling them names like Blank Flanks.
Bullies? How awful! Let me speak with them. There'll be no bullying on my watch.
You seem pretty content watching me get insulted,
Yeah,
though.
that's what I'm saying.
There's more, Your Honor. You see, yesterday when we spoke to Scootaloo at the detention center, we learned that an altercation between the Crusaders and these bullies occurred on the day of the murder. During that exchange, Turning Page came to their aid and chased the bullies off. This was where Scootaloo and Turning Page first met, and later, spent time getting to know each other.
And I assume this is somehow related to the blackmail letter?
Precisely, Your Honor. The two fillies were angry that their encounter with the Crusaders ended with them getting told off, so they blackmailed them in retaliation. If you look at the top of the letter, you'll see that it begins with, "Hey there, Blank Flanks." The only ponies who would address the Crusaders as such are these bullies. This serves as definitive proof that the ponies who wrote the blackmail letter are none other than Diamond Tiara and Silver Spoon.
Objection!
Oh?
Unfortunately, defense, that is not a wholly concrete possibility.
Huh? But the insult
Someone else
could
could've-
easily be a red herring
Yeah.
by the author of the note. These fillies are not the only ones who are aware of that particular taunt. After all, if these fillies are as infamous as you say they are, then any pony familiar with them would know that they are fond of the term blank flank. It's hardly proof.
Zecora's still just chilling.
Suppose Your Honor began to refer to you as Golden Pixie. Would that make him me?
Well, would it, Golden Pixie?
What the
I very much would not
All
mind
right.
being considered a princess, you know.
I'd rather not answer that, Your Honor.
But now, let us turn our attention to the letter itself. I'm sure everyone can see that this note is written entirely in letters cut out from a magazine. As a result, it is impossible to perform any sort of writing
Maybe
analysis.
we can find the cutout
However,
magazine somewhere.
That doesn't mean we can't prove who the author of this note is.
How?
If we could find the magazines that these letters were cut out from, it'd be a simple matter of matching the cuts on the letters to the holes in the magazines.
Yeah, but we don't have those magazines.
Are you sure about that?
Well, you have them.
Are those?
I have here two
Why the
magazines
hell?
with several letters cut out from many different pages. If the court would be so kind, I'd like to request some time for the police to analyze the letters on the note and the empty spaces in the magazines. If we get a match,
How
then
do
we'll
you
know
have
for
this?
a fact that the blackmail letter was written using these magazines.
Very well. The court grants the prosecution's request. Private Eye?
Yes, my lord.
Please take this letter and these magazines and have an analysis performed.
30
Try to have
minutes.
it done in 30 minutes if you can.
Certainly, my lord.
Prosecutor Luna, have the results
here
come
we
in
are.
yet?
They were just delivered, Your Honor.
And what's the conclusion?
The letters on the blackmail note match the shape of the cuts in the magazines.
I see. So it has been proven how the blackmail letter was written. But I fail to see how this helps us, Prosecutor.
Rest assured, Your Honor. We did not simply pick those magazines up off the street or find them in a dumpster.
Yeah.
You must have found them in either Diamond or Silver's house.
Yeah, why were you there?
The magazines that were used to write the blackmail letter were found in the home of Royal Order.
What?
Order in the court!
What the fuck?
Prosecutor Luna,
Wait.
Are you saying that the one behind the blackmail was the victim himself?
At the site of the blackmail, it was his body that remained after Scootaloo and Turning Page fled the scene. Additionally, the magazines used to write the blackmail letter were found in his home. It certainly doesn't look good for him.
Why the fuck would he... Turning Page, do you know about this? What?
Remember the Royal Guard was a blackmailer?
I can't believe it. I won't believe it.
But if you think about it, it does seem to line up.
What?
Objection! Prosecutor Luna, you can't seriously be suggesting that Royal Order is the blackmailer. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, what would that
What do you mean by that, Princess Twilight?
Royal Order was in Canterlot on the eve of the murder. He would not have been able to steal the Crusaders' belongings, nor send them the blackmail letter. Those events transpired much earlier in the day. Unless the prosecution can explain how he absconded with the Crusaders' things while in Canterlot, it's impossible for him to be the blackmailer.
Is that so?
Better not say he teleported
Prosecutor Luna,
cities.
what do you say to that?
The defense is, of course, correct, Your Honor. Given the fact he was in Canterlot when the theft occurred, Royal Order could not be the blackmailer.
You think Turning Page is?
However, I don't recall ever asserting that he was.
Then why were you just sitting quiet while everyone was talking about...
merely assumed that would be my argument, and has seemingly overlooked the fatal implication this evidence actually holds.
What?
Royal Order was not around to set up this whole blackmailing scheme, yet the fact remains that these magazines
So
were
it was
discovered
the mom
in
or
his
Turning
home.
Page?
This can only mean that the perpetrator of this blackmailing must be some pony else who lives there.
The mom?
We know for a fact it can't be Turning, given that he went with Scootaloo into the forest to settle the deal.
Why would the mom
leaves
do
us
that?
With only one other possibility.
You don't mean...
The perpetrator can only be the victim's wife, Miss Fair Devotion.
What?
What the fuck is happening?
Order! Order in the court! Prosecutor Luna, are you sure?
So she wanted the silk, or was she trying to get him killed?
I am, Your Honor, as much as it pains me to say. But remember, Turning Page was not the target of the blackmail. The Crusaders, and by extension Scootaloo, were. Turning simply accompanied her into the forest. In which case, it's not so unthinkable that his mother could very well have been behind the whole thing.
Okay.
Objection!
But why?
This is ridiculous. Why would Miss Devotion want to blackmail the Crusaders?
Did she want the silk?
Because she needed to.
Oh, she needed to.
She needed to?
You explained it to us earlier, Defense, did you not? Turning Page confronted two bullies earlier that day, Diamond Tiara and Silver Spoon. He intervened whilst they were harassing the Crusaders. However, you left out the most important detail.
What detail?
That Turning's attack resulted in the fillies' dresses getting ruined. Now tell me, Golden Pixie, what do you suppose happened afterwards?
You tell me, Luna.
Afterwards?
There's plenty more to this story than what has been told. Luckily, thanks to our interrogation of Miss Devotion, we are able to shed light on this matter.
Oh my fuck.
Please explain,
I can't keep up with this.
According to Fair Devotion, Diamond Tiara's mother, Spoiled Rich, met with her later that day, after hearing about the incident from her daughter. Those dresses Turning Page dirtied were custom made and quite expensive. So, of course, Mrs. Rich was rather upset to hear about what had happened to them.
So she told her to blackmail them
Seeing as how the fault lay with her son, Spoiled demanded that Miss Devotion pay back the money in compensation.
And she agreed to that. Why?
Once again, out of necessity. Mrs. Rich happens to be the president of the Ponyville School Board. Miss Devotion feared that, if she didn't agree, Mrs. Rich would ensure that she would never work at the school again.
So that's fucking... Punish her. Yeah, that's fucking blackmail.
But now I'm sure you can see why Miss Devotion would need to get her hooves on a great deal of money quickly.
But the blackmail letter didn't ask for money. It asked for the fabric.
Indeed it did. Now, why, Miss Sparkle, would that be the
Can you
case?
stop asking us to fucking explain your point?
Well, because...
It's so condescending.
Like I said, it takes a long time to make, and it costs a lot of money.
The fabric would fetch a pretty high price if sold to the right pony?
Exactly. The value of that golden silk was brought up during the fight between the kids. Turning must have overheard what was said and recounted the details to his mother when she confronted him. And that, fillies and gentle colts, is precisely what gave Miss Devotion the idea to blackmail the Cutie Mark Crusaders.
Wait, and you just knew all this before the trial started.
To pay off Spoiled Rich.
You knew all this and said nothing.
What is even happening right now? Luna somehow opened up the possibility that Fair Devotion wrote the blackmail letter.
You presented a very convincing argument, Prosecutor. But there's still one thing that troubles me.
And what would that be, Your Honor?
Earlier, you said that you think Royal Order is somehow involved in the blackmail. But it's been proven that he wasn't around to steal the Cutie Mark Crusaders' effects or send the letter. So, how can that be?
There's no big mystery here, Your Honor. It's easy to imagine that Miss Devotion and her husband were working together.
Working together?
What?
But I thought Mr. Order had gone into that forest to look for his son.
Yeah.
So Miss Devotion claims, but the prosecution sees no reason to trust her word anymore. The instant these magazines were matched with this blackmail letter, all of her testimony became highly suspect.
You're quite right. The magazines leave little room for doubt in regards to who the blackmailer was.
Which means they also cast doubt on her explanation for Mr. Order's movements. Taking that into account, we must seek another explanation for why he went into the forest.
Yeah, and then went through Poison
Luckily,
Joke.
There is a rather simple one. Perhaps, as soon as Mr. Order got home, Miss Devotion explained the whole situation to him. Armed with the knowledge of the blackmailing and the fabric roll, he would have left immediately for the castle. That would be the real reason why Royal Order went into the
Wait,
forest.
you go to the
that
castle
night.
after you found out about
He
that?
intended to act as the recipient for the blackmail.
Just without any covering?
And thus, we arrive at the heart of the matter. The motive for the murder. I don't think we could ever truly know what happened at the foot of the bridge that night. However, if Mr. Order was the recipient for the exchange, then we can make a few inferences. It could be as simple as the negotiations going sour, or it could be that learning what his father was doing infuriated Turning to the
I don't
point
know.
of attacking.
That doesn't sit right with me.
Whichever scenario you choose, the basic facts remain the same. Royal Order was present at the scene of the blackmail and died there, murdered. The only ones who could have done it are the only two who were at the scene at the time, Scootaloo and Turning Page. However, as the defense has previously demonstrated, it'd be rather difficult for Scootaloo to be involved.
So you think
in
he
this crime,
killed his father
given her
because he got
inability to
mad that
fly
he was
and the fact that
blackmailed?
the victim was killed while standing. Therefore, the prosecution is willing to cut the defense a deal here.
What?
What is it?
Concede that Turning Page is guilty of murdering his father, and will be willing to let Scootaloo off without a single charge.
No! Because it's not the fucking
The
truth.
choice is yours, Golden Pixie.
That is pissing me off.
Hold it! Your Honor? No!
Do not do this!
Defend me if you must. But just
Do
know
not
that
fake
if I think
confess.
things start to look bad, I won't hesitate to
Do not
confess
fake
that
confess.
saving her.
He's going to confess. I have to stop him.
Oh my god.
Objection! Turning, don't do this! We don't have to give up yet.
Thank you for fighting so hard for us,
No!
Miss Sykes. But this is honestly for the best.
Luna, do you see how this...
No! It's not. I promised you both. I'd save the two of you together.
But there's no way you can do that now. Can you? And besides, this is...
Just tell me one thing, Turning. Who was it that you met at the bridge? Was it really your father?
You guys are still holding out on details.
No.
So I was right then. It was Diamond Tiara and Silver Spoon.
Well, yes, it was. But that's...
Ha! See, Luna? The defendant just disproved your whole theory.
Objection! Yes, congratulations, my dear Golden Pixie. You can now add perjury to the defendant's list of charges.
Oh my fucking god.
Objection! Not if he's telling the truth, Prosecutor Luna.
In that case, defense, let's clear this matter up once and for all.
Oh my god.
Shall we?
Wait, but I...
Shh. It's all right, Turning Page.
Oh, shush him.
Don't forget what I told you before this all started. You and Scootaloo have nothing to worry about. I promise. Surely, Miss Sykes can promise you the same?
What is happening, dude?
Yes, she's trying to help them. Of course! That explains all those hints from before. And why she got so mad when I accused Zecora.
Is she? I don't fucking know.
There's no way I can do this by myself.
You guys are gonna be pissed at me in the comments, aren't you?
She wants to help, and I need it. Accidenti! I'm never gonna get any better if I keep getting bailed out like this. But I need to do something. Just this once, okay? Just this once. Yes, Prosecutor Luna. I can indeed.
Glad to see we're on the same page, then.
All right. Go ahead, Miss Sykes.
Thank you, Turning.
Why are you being so sassy, Luna? Like,
I'm not quite sure I understand what just
yeah, I don't fucking know what's going on.
Allow me to summarize for you, Your Honor. The prosecution claims that the orchestrator of the blackmailing deal was Fair Devotion. We claim this because of the magazines found in her home. These, as previously proven, were used to create the blackmail letter. We also claim that Miss Devotion sent her husband, Royal Order, to the scene for the exchange. He was subsequently killed by one or both of the ponies who arrived to settle the deal, Scootaloo and Turning Page. Meanwhile, the defense claims that the orchestrators of the blackmail were two fillies the Cutie Mark Crusaders had encountered earlier in the day, Diamond Tiara and Silver Spoon. Their main evidence is what Turning has just said, that the ponies he and Scootaloo met at the bridge that night were, in fact, Diamond Tiara and Silver Spoon.
Okay.
Defense, I hardly need to explain to you that testimony from the defendant is not entirely reliable, do I?
Not at all, Prosecutor Luna.
Then, by all means, do prove it to us. Prove that the one the defendants met at the crime scene was not Royal Order, but instead, those two fillies.
If I'm right that she's helping, then I have to believe that the evidence I need has
I don't know.
Unfortunately, all of the evidence relating to the blackmail seems to point directly at Miss Devotion.
What type
In that
of
case,
magazine was
instead
cut
of
out?
trying to prove who the blackmailer was, I should focus on figuring out everyone's movements that night. If I can show that Royal Order's actions contradict the blackmailers, it should be enough to bring those two fillies to the stand. Prosecutor Luna, I have a question for you. How do you think the victim made it to the scene of the blackmail?
Ah, Now we're asking the real questions. The prosecution is under the assumption that the victim would have wanted to get there as quickly as possible. Thus, he likely would have teleported as far as we know he could go, the crossroads, and simply walked the rest of the way. Simple, no?
Objection! Unfortunately, Prosecutor Luna, that's not possible.
Why not, defense?
Turning? Scootaloo?
Yes, Miss Sykes?
Remind me once again at what time the two of you entered the forest.
It was around 9:25, I'm pretty sure.
And while you were walking through the forest, did you ever come across anyone?
No.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Prosecutor Luna, can you remind the
I'm
court
still
what time the
lost.
victim left his house?
As we heard from Detective I's testimony, it was 9:30.
And do you know how long it takes to reach the crossroads from the forest entrance?
About 5 minutes.
Precisely. And that clears it all up then, doesn't it?
I'm
with
afraid
you,
I'm
Judge.
not following.
The prosecution claims that Royal Order teleported himself to the crossroads as soon as he left his house. In other words, at 9:30. Additionally, we've just confirmed that Turning and Scootaloo entered the forest at 9:25. After a 5-minute walk, they would have reached the crossroads at 9:30.
So they should have seen him?
Oh!
In conclusion, the victim couldn't have teleported to the crossroads immediately after leaving his house, because if he did, he would have appeared right in front of the defendants.
Alright.
Objection!
Very impressive, Golden
Stop!
Pixie. You've proven that Royal Order couldn't have been walking ahead of the defendants. But what's preventing him from having followed behind them? It might mean he was a little late to the meeting, but that alone doesn't make it an impossibility.
Wouldn't Zecora have seen him?
Unless you have proof to the contrary, defense?
Zecora should have seen him.
Is something wrong, Miss Sykes? You look like you've come to a terrible realization.
He's right. I have.
What?
And you just stood there, taking care of plants the whole time? Weren't you worried about two kids going so far into the forest by themselves?
Of course I was. Who wouldn't be? After all, they were in the Everfree. But for all that time, there was no sound,
Yep.
nor any sign that they were found. On the path, I kept one eye in case they returned or another passed by.
I guess no one ever came then?
No one did, neither pony nor foal. I finished my work without.
And now we know
seeing a
it can't be
soul.
Zecora because you're saying her testimony's credible.
The contradiction is obvious.
Yeah.
But unless I retract my earlier accusation, it won't be credible.
Defense, what have you hit upon?
So, this is what Luna meant when she said she'd force me to abandon that theory. The only reason I made it was to remove that damaging testimony from the court's consideration. But now it's coming back to bite us.
Yep.
No. To bite me.
She is
This must have been
disappointed.
what Twilight wanted to warn me about. She knew this could happen.
Well, Golden Pixie, don't keep me waiting.
Once again, I don't think I have much choice. No, that's not right. Not again. This isn't like before, when I could have let it go. This time, I really have no choice. I have to do this. And Luna knows it. If she isn't out for blood, then letting Zecora's testimony stand shouldn't be much of a problem. Regardless of how much
Is she
it
or
hurts
is she
her
not?
case.
I don't know
At
still.
this point, that's what I have to believe. Your Honor,
Yes, Miss Sykes?
before the defense makes its next argument, we would like to retract our accusation of Miss Zecora.
Yeah.
Defense, did I hear that right? You wish to retract your accusation?
Yes, Your Honor.
Fuck.
I'll have you know, Miss Sykes, that I don't take kindly to fruitless accusations. I'm afraid I'll have to hold you in contempt of court as punishment.
It wasn't a blind accusation, was it? That was a real possibility.
The prosecution objects to the defense being held in contempt.
You do?
We can see that our opponent is merely a fledgling attorney, still trying to find her footing. Such inexperience can easily lead to impulsive decisions.
Prosecutor Luna...
I still think it was a real possibility.
Even so, in this line of work, such actions cannot be overlooked, Prosecutor Luna. They could easily lead to the destruction of an innocent life. As such, I feel punishment is necessary.
Did she,
here.
like, full-on accuse? Like...
I understand, Your Honor. In that case, why don't we leave that decision up to the one whose life was targeted?
I mean, isn't it the attorney's job to point out any possibility?
Punished, then the prosecution will stand down.
Wait, what do I know?
Very well. Witness, what do you say?
I feel like you guys are going to eat me up in the comments for everything I've been saying.
It's alright, Miss Zecora. You don't have to say anything. If you want to see me get punished, I won't blame you. What I did was rash and dumb. I'm just really new at this. Twilight here tried to stop me, but I didn't listen to her. As a result, I put you in danger, even though I knew I had no real reason to suspect you of anything. Especially when a certain feeling made me aware you'd never murder any pony. I can't expect you to forgive me, but I just wanted the chance to say I'm sorry.
I understand what you meant to do, saving both Turning and Scootaloo. While your accusation has hurt my pride, I, for one, will take it in stride.
Alright.
You and I desire the same, you see, to see those two young defendants set free. You evidently still have much to learn, but punishment from me you have not earned.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Zecora.
The court acknowledges the witness's decision. The defense shall not be held in contempt. However, Miss Sykes, I better not see any more rash accusations come from you again. If I do, you will be penalized and held in contempt, regardless of what the prosecution or witnesses may say.
Understood, Your Honor.
I'm glad we've cleared up that matter. So now let's return to the topic at hoof. The prosecution still believes that Royal Order was the recipient for the blackmail exchange. The defense has proven, however, that he could not have arrived at the scene prior to the defendants. Our amended theory is that he followed behind the children as they made their way through the forest. Defense, do you have any objections to this interpretation?
Zecora should have seen him.
I do.
Then, by all means, state them here.
Why are you acting all nice now?
It all relies on Zecora's witness testimony. If you recall, she claimed to have kept an eye on the forest path ever since she saw Turning and Scootaloo pass. She continued watching until 10:10, when she finally retired for the evening. During that entire time, she didn't see any pony following behind the defendants. That means the victim couldn't have passed by during that time frame.
Objection! Need I suggest the obvious? Mr. Order could have easily waited until Zecora had stopped watching the path before continuing
She was there for like 30 minutes.
Yet, he could have simply walked off the path and through the woods himself using an illumination spell.
Zecora would have seen that.
Objection! But that doesn't make any sense either. There's no way he could have known when Zecora would leave. Even if, for whatever reason, he did wait, it takes about 15 minutes to reach the scene from Zecora's hut anyway. He'd be arriving at the castle no later than 10:25. But we know Turning and Scootaloo had likely left the castle by that time. Zecora spotted one of them in the form of a small shadow at 10:20. there would have been no chance for negotiations
Sure
to even
was
occur,
there.
let alone turn sour.
And the chance of using an illumination spell?
Highly unlikely. The Everfree Forest is pitch black at night. Under the cover of trees, you'd need a very strong source of light to find your way through. A light that strong in a place that dark would no doubt have caught Zecora's attention, no matter where it came from.
Indeed. There's no way I would have missed a light, and I did not see one at all that night.
Which leads us to only one conclusion. Royal Order could not have followed behind the defendants, nor made it to the scene ahead of them.
So how'd he get there? How does Body get there?
Royal Order could not have been involved in the blackmail.
Okay, so he's fine now, but...
And with that, any motive for murder has completely disappeared.
Indeed. It would seem as if the prosecution's proposal no longer holds water. What say you in response, Prosecutor Luna?
Simply this, Your Honor. Bravo, Miss Sykes. That was a fantastic rebuttal.
He's not Golden Pixie.
Thanks? I could say the same thing to you, given how much you helped.
It's too early for thanks, Golden Pixie.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Back to the nickname already.
Your assertions are solid and well-founded, but unfortunately, they are far from impregnable.
What do you mean?
Your claims hold strong only so long as the two assumptions they're based on are true.
What assumptions?
The first is the small shadow Miss Zecora saw. We can't know for certain it was related to these kids. If it's not, then we have no way of knowing exactly when they left the scene. In that instance,
Okay, well that's just the
it would be more than
kids.
possible for Royal Order to arrive late at the scene and still meet the defendants there.
Zecora still would have seen him though, right?
Well, why don't we ask them now? Objection!
Any testimony they could offer on this matter would be heavily influenced by your own remarks, defense. They could easily claim to agree with your statements in order to support your story, and that would get us nowhere.
That may be true, but I'd still like to hear what they have to say regardless.
We're using our right to remain
What
silent.
the fuck? Speak!
Yeah. What? Why?
If they told you, Golden Pixie, would that not defeat the entire purpose of the right?
Oh my god.
You're right. Fine then. What's the second assumption?
Your initial rebuttal was based on the fact that Royal Order left his house at the specified time of 9:30. However, this information came from Miss Devotion, whose testimony is questionable. Can we really trust the time she
Let's
gave
get her
for
in
when
here.
her husband left home? And finally, there's one last problem with your rebuttal.
There's still more.
Even if we grant that those assumptions are true, your arguments utilize several different measurements of time in order to make your point stand. These measurements are but estimates based on a pony's gait. Depending on the difference in size, walking speed, and other variable
Weren't you using that at the start of the
there's
trial?
always going to be a slight difference in
For
how
the original
quickly
crime
or
scene?
slowly one can travel from point A to point B. So, even though it may seem as though Royal Order would have teleported into the crossroads right before the defendant's eyes, it's still entirely possible that he could have done so before the two ever reached the area.
Kids, we need you to speak.
So what's your next move going to be, defense? I'll grant that you managed to cast doubt on Royal Order acting as the blackmail recipient, but it still hasn't been proven to be false.
Hasn't been
just
proven
yet.
to be true either.
As long as we have no reason to doubt that Miss Devotion was the one behind the blackmail, it'll be difficult to refute this point.
But she's not the one behind the blackmail. Turning said it himself. The ponies he and Scootaloo met at the castle were Diamond Tiara and Silver Spoon.
Why are the kids
And
not
yet,
talking?
No evidence has been submitted which would suggest that either Diamond Tiara or Silver Spoon were even at the scene of the crime. We only have the defendant's words, which cannot be fully trusted.
Well, I know for a fact that Diamond and Silver were the ones who made the blackmail letter. They have to
What
be
was
the
the
ones
magazine
who
that
were
was
there
cut
night.
out?
But how am I supposed to prove that if I can't even use Scootaloo and Turning's own words? If I'm right about Luna, the evidence to prove it must exist. But I've never even seen these kids before. How am I supposed to be able to— Objection!
Twilight!
Twilight?
You're right, Prosecutor Luna. Looking through the evidence, there's nothing that can yet prove our claim, which is why the defense is prepared to submit new evidence.
You are?
2 hours in?
We are, Athena.
Twilight.
Then, by all means, please present this evidence to us, Miss Sparkle.
Gladly, Your Honor.
Are those pieces of glass?
In a sense, Your Honor, but not quite. These glass fragments were found at the scene of the crime. However, the investigation concluded that they were actually a broken pair of
Silver Spoon's
nearsighted
glasses?
Glasses?
Exactly. Now, if you run through the profiles of every single pony involved in this case so far, you'll
Only
notice
one
that
with
they all share a
glasses.
distinct characteristic. Not a single one of them wears glasses.
What? Prosecutor Luna, is this true?
It is, Your Honor.
That would, of course, make these shards of glass seem irrelevant to the case. However, if we take into account Diamond Tiara and Silver Spoon, then the story changes. For you see, one of them does wear glasses on a regular basis. Silver Spoon.
Ooh, the hair flip.
What?
Objection! Many ponies wear glasses, Miss Sparkle. So I'm afraid that alone isn't enough to substantiate your claim. Do you have any proof that those shards of glass are from Miss Spoon's glasses specifically?
Unfortunately, I
Maybe
don't.
we can get
But
her
it shouldn't be
her
hard
up
to
here.
figure out what the prescribed measurements of
Yeah,
her glasses
and
are.
that.
All we need to do is hear from her optometrist, and then we—
Objection! You wish to invade a child's privacy on nothing but an educated guess? You have no proof that these glasses were even broken on the night
But we
of the
do have
murder.
reason to
For
suspect
all
Diamond
you know,
Tiara and Silver
They
Spoon.
could have been broken the day before, or the day before that. If you want us to collect a statement from the doctor, you'll first need to show us that those shards are, beyond reasonable doubt, related to the crime in question.
Very well. I'll do just that. Athena?
So much for no more getting bailed out. Twilight's doing all the work for us. If I hadn't jumped the gun with accusing Zecora—
Athena?
Yeah?
We're going to have to make a gamble here.
A gamble?
What do you mean?
Apart from hearing from Turning and Scootaloo, there's only one way we can prove when those glasses were broken. Seeing how Luna won't accept either of their words, our only hope is that she can recall in enough detail what she saw that day.
You mean?
Yes, but before
What?
we do this, I just want to make sure you're okay with it.
At this point, you seem to know far better than me how to handle this. Go ahead.
Defense!
Oh my god.
Present your evidence to the court now! What can prove the connection these glass shards have with this case?
Your Honor, if you recall, we heard testimony from Zecora earlier. She spoke about what she was doing that day before the crime occurred. One of those activities was looking for rare flowers, right around the scene of the crime.
Okay.
Yes, for along that castle's cliffside, sometimes rare flowers peek and hide. Sadly, when my search was done, I left without finding a single one.
Yes, I do remember that. But what significance does that have here?
Well, she saw the
If Zecora
shards?
had gone to the scene earlier that day, then she might be able to confirm for us whether or not the shards in question were present at the time.
Oh, that's right!
So, Zecora, can you confirm for us? The glass shards in the picture here. Were they there when you went to the scene that day?
How funny you bring this up to me. It just came rushing back, you see.
Oh.
That night at the scene, those shards I did spy. The glint of the moonlight caught my eye. And as for their presence earlier that day, I think you'll like what I have to say. Because as far as I can recall... there were no glass shards there at all.
Thank you, Zecora. You've been a great help. So there you have it, Prosecutor Luna. The glasses were undoubtedly broken on the day in question, at some point prior to Zecora coming across the body. And I'm confident that once you get these shards examined, you'll find that they match up with the glasses Silver Spoon is prescribed to wear. That, in combination with the defendant's testimony, will leave very little room for doubt, I'd say. It'll prove conclusively that both Silver Spoon and Diamond Tiara were at the scene that very night.
I concur with Princess Twilight. Prosecutor Luna, what are your thoughts?
The prosecution concedes that the glasses prove exactly what the defense claims.
You do?
There is, however,
Oh my God,
one
of
final
course there
question
is.
I must ask.
Oh no. And what would that be?
Does your stance in regards to why these two would have been in the forest that night remain unchanged? The evidence speaks for itself. The one who orchestrated this blackmail was Fair Devotion. It's possible you may have proven that Diamond Tiara and Silver Spoon were at the scene, but do you still claim that they were the blackmailers, even in the face of evidence?
Yes, that's a very good question. Defense, do you have an answer?
What do you think, Athena?
What?
Well, if the kids would
Me?
fucking talk to us.
Twilight, I'm not even sure I should say anything at this point. I've already messed up once before, making claims that I couldn't back up.
True, but this is different from then. We have a footing now.
A hoofing?
One backed up by our own evidence. Regardless of how this trial has gone so far for us, I think we're finally getting somewhere. I think this is our chance to make up for our mistakes.
You mean my mistakes? But Twilight...
Athena! I know you feel like you messed up, but that doesn't matter right now. I took a huge gamble with objecting earlier, but I did that because I trusted you could back me up if I needed you to. Yes, you accused Zecora, but we can't let that stop us. We've got one chance to bring those fillies to the stand. We have to take it.
Twilight, even after what I did, you still believe in me?
Mm-hmm.
Twilight just paved the way for us to
Go
make
talk
our
to
comeback.
Starlight.
Even if the
About her
evidence is
forgiveness.
stacked against us, we have to take a chance here. Together.
Miss Sykes! Princess Twilight!
Why do you not let us talk?
Yes?
Do you, or do you not, still assert that Miss Tiara and Miss Spoon were the ones behind the blackmailing?
Ready, Athena?
No?
I hope so.
The Golden Pixie is back from her sulking journey, I see. Let us hear this final answer, then.
The defense? The defense still believes that Diamond Tiara and Silver Spoon were the ones
All right,
who
we're sticking
blackmailed the
to
Cutie
it.
Mark Crusaders.
Objection! And how do you expect that claim to hold, Golden Pixie? The evidence has clearly established that Fair Devotion is the only one who could have been the blackmailer. The magazines found in her home are conclusive to
No,
this fact.
not necessarily.
That is true.
However, what if that very fact is nothing short of the true author's trap?
The what?
You're claiming that us finding the magazines in Miss Devotion's household was something that the true blackmailer set up? And where's your evidence?
Of course. The glass shards. They prove that Silver Spoon and, presumably, Diamond Tiara were both at the scene where the blackmail was supposed to occur. That can't be a coincidence. If the magazines say they can't be the blackmailers, then perhaps that evidence should be called into question.
Exactly. The glass shards found at the scene corroborate the defendant's testimony. So if anything's suspect here, it's those magazines.
Yeah, I've been wondering, what are the magazines
Is it
of?
possible they could have been placed in the victim's home in an attempt to mislead the
Yeah,
investigation?
are they like little kitty magazines?
Yet, you have no definitive proof of your
Oh my
claim.
God.
Just speculation.
Let me
and
see the
guesswork.
magazine.
Then there's only one way we can settle this. The defense wishes to call Diamond Tiara and Silver Spoon to the stand.
Oh shit.
We know they were there. It's impossible to hide that now. What matters at this point is what they saw.
Were they the blackmailers? Or was it someone else?
Some pony.
The only way we can find out for sure is by hearing what they have to say.
Allow me to give my thoughts on the matter. The prosecution has given us a very convincing case with only the slightest room for doubt.
Really?
However, given the potential that there were additional witnesses to the crime that we have yet to hear from, I do not feel it is right for me to give a verdict at this time. Prosecutor Luna, what say you?
I wholeheartedly agree, Your Honor. The defense has pointed out an interesting conundrum. By all accounts, it should be impossible for Diamond Tiara and Silver Spoon to be the perpetrators of this blackmail. However, it was their effects that were found at the blackmail site, which would lead one to believe that they were involved. This contradiction cannot go unresolved.
Okay.
Therefore, the prosecution concedes to the defense's request.
Very well. This court will now enter a 30-minute recess. During that time, I expect the prosecution to obtain the results on those glass shards and find out if they match the prescription of the filly Silver Spoon. If by chance they do, the court demands that she and Diamond Tiara are summoned here immediately to give testimony.
That's
probably gonna happen.
Entirely unnecessary, Your Honor. After all,
Oh.
the two of them are already sitting in the witness lobby, waiting to be summoned to the stand.
Very well. Court is now adjourned.
Damn, just like that. Damn. All right. So we still got a whole nother trial episode next time. I really feel like you guys are gonna be pissed at how I was talking to Luna that whole time. She was being bitchy, like, whether she's on our side or not. Like, what the fuck's up with the golden pixie and the condescension? Maybe that's just me. I'm expecting some comments though, so whatever. I will try to get the next episode done as soon as I can of this. But it might be another little bit. I'm sorry, I have too much other shit going on. And these are long. But it will happen eventually. If you're willing to wait as long as this episode was from the last one, then I guess you're used to it. Alright, well, I've already given most of my thoughts. It's getting heated. Luna is kind of on our side, but being weird about it. The kids aren't talking about anything for some reason. I still feel like there's a lot more. So, yeah. Whenever the next episode is, I will see you there. But, yeah. Bye.